Welcome back, Commander. I am Korak, your host for the evening, and this is Kane's Wrath. We are, of course, in the Chrono Clash II for the 5th wave. Starting us off over in the top right-hand corner of the map, wearing the purple in the scrin. Give it up for Panic. His opponent for the moment in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing the blue in the Traveler 59. This is Desolator Trooper. The Chrono Clash II is backed by Chronosphere, keeping apps stable, sites smooth, and devs only mildly panicked. Always happy to see Tiki Turmoil when it does show up, so I am pretty happy with seeing it here in the tournament. I think this might actually be one of the first times we've seen it overall. People have seemed to avoid Tiki Turmoil overall, but it looks like Desolator Trooper and Panic, either one of them, has picked the map, and we are getting to see it live, at least not necessarily for the player, but at least from the commentary perspective. First scouts are out for both players, buzzer squads for each, of course, because these are Scrin and their sub-faction. Will Vanilla Scrin be able to stand up to Traveler 59? It depends definitely on the plays of each player. First drone ship looks like is moving out there for Panic, already making his way down to his natural expansion. Looks like there is 3 natural expansions on Tiki Turmoil, 2 sets of blue Tiberium in sort of a kind of protected field once you make your way all the way over there, as well as 2, I believe, Tiberium Spike, maybe just the 1. Not sure if there's another one on the map. Maybe it's just the 1 Tiberium Spike per player. Defensive towers in the center to control that, but I don't think I've ever really seen anyone grab that. Those are usually pretty moot, and it does appear to be that there's only 2 of the Tiberium Spikes. Panic has moved his way into, like I said, his natural expansion, but he doesn't have the resources, I don't believe, just quite yet to put a refinery. I say it, and there it is, right on cue. He's definitely going to be ahead of the economy of Desolator Trooper, and that actually already is beginning to reflect in the game. Panic has a small lead on Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper has time to turn those around, but he might need to step up his economic game, but maybe he's working on some sort of rush here in a minute. It looks like he's down 1 harvester. He's got 4, so that would explain the... Nope, there's the 5th one. I would say that would explain the discrepancy, but it will not. Either way, Desolator Trooper's done a better job, I think, of harvesting resources just in general, and that does... Sorry, Panic has done a better job of harvesting resources over Desolator Trooper, and it looks like that lead is only increasing. Panic already grabbing a Devourer tank. Those will be really good into those Seeker tanks early on. And actually, Desolator Trooper being a little bit cheeky here, he's already got a Mechapede out this early in the game. That he's going to be able to do a good amount of harassment with that, but that Devourer tank can do a good amount. It looks like he did tech T3 up quite early. Another head for a Mechapede is out. They will begin to repair over time, making their way down the center of the map. Nothing to scout them just quite yet. However, there is a Gunwalker here. They do turn around, avoiding the Gunwalker. Not sure if they were actually able to see the Gunwalker or what that was, but either way, missing that scout will be pretty beneficial to them. His Mechapede does need to get on its feet just a little bit and get a couple of segments out and going, but maybe they're not quite worried about that. Unfortunately, it looks like they're going to run into all of these Devourer tanks, as Panic has built up 5 Devourer tanks this early in the game. I think he's definitely expecting something crazy coming his way. Descents over on the left-hand side. It doesn't look like his opponent's going to sit idly by. That does explain the difference in economy, but if Desolator Trooper doesn't close that gap soon, he's going to be in danger. There's almost a 10k difference in overall economy harvest, so that's going to start to sting. Desolator Trooper finally moving over to his expansion. Nothing set up in it just quite yet, other than a stasis chamber. Devourer tanks moving their way forward. It does look like Desolator Trooper did grab the defensive towers, making me a liar, and that's actually going to do decently well into these units. He's going to be able to destroy at least 1 of the Devourer tanks, but Devourer tanks are here in quite a good number. Tiberium Spike over here for Panic is in danger, but the Gunwalker should be able to wipe up those Disintegrators. Desolator Trooper now making his way over to his side of the map. Sorry, Panic making his way over to Desolator Trooper's side of the map. Cultists are going to grab one of the Devourer Tanks, forcing Devourer Tank to destroy Devourer Tank. So if he's able to keep that up and going, that could be quite to his benefit. Prodigy is out, which means we can see a bit of Blink. Cultist is freed up, which means he can grab another Devourer Tank here in a little bit if it can get close enough. Mechapede's deciding to go on the assault. Couple of Cultists are going to grab one of the Devourer Tanks. Blink backwards, saving just the one Cultist. Cultist is barely alive. This seems to be the strategy for Desolator Trooper. You may be up on economy, but if I keep grabbing your troops, it doesn't matter. Gunwalker after Gunwalker gets grabbed in order to protect these Cultists. Stasis Chamber does go down, I think, before the upgrade. Blink forward by the Prodigy. Prodigy does grab one of the Devourer Tanks now, forcing Devourer Tank to destroy Devourer Tank. 2 Devourer Tanks do get grabbed over here by Desolator Trooper. Panic may be doing quite well, but he's not doing well enough to stop these Cultists moving their way in, while Mechapedes are moving their way inside of his base. Desolator Trooper is making some mighty good gains over here by grabbing his units. And unfortunately for Panic, it looks like several Mechapedes have begun their assault on his drone platform. Maybe he expanded a little bit too zealously, but either way, his drone platform is already in danger. Panic, not normally seeming to be on his back foot, is not doing as well in the Desolator Trooper as I expected. Maybe Desolator Trooper will be able to take out Panic. There's the one click there for the drone ship, saving it. It does looks like it gets captured there right at the end. That's going to be unfortunate for Desolator Trooper, losing that early on, and I don't think he can replace it. No, it does not look like he can replace it. He doesn't have that unit. Desolator Trooper might already have this one in the bag as he moves his Mexipede into his secondary natural expansion. Harvester going down. It looks like a couple of the Harvesters were already taken out by that point. Panic is truly living up to his namesake, which of course is the Panic. One click down inside of, it looks like this first natural expansion there of Desolator Trooper. 2 assaults going on, 2 Mechapedes going on, each one of them assaulting one another. Mechapedes for Desolator Trooper are beginning to make their way back, while Panic just sits inside and tries to continue this base race. More and more Harvesters do get targeted down. More and more Harvesters do get destroyed. Lightning Spike trying the best it can to begin to hammer out these Mechapedes, but Mechapedes are not facing quite the right way. If they're not careful, they could be taken out, but the same thing can be said over here by Panic. Panic is destroying Harvester after Harvester, destroying all the infrastructure of his opponent. It truly will boil down to a base race. Things slowing down, but the economy is definitely hurting on both sides. T3 is getting targeted over by the Mechapedes for Panic. Panic continuing his assault. Mechapedes looking a little bit more anemic over on the top right-hand side of the map. Desolator Trooper might be in danger. Base race might go to Panic. Desolator Trooper had every opportunity to win this, and he might get destroyed by this. The micro is definitely here for Panic. Seems to be a bit better on his end opposed to Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper trying desperately to keep up, and I think the base race truly is in Panic's favor. It still has a chance of going either way. There still is a refinery all the way back there, so it still has an opportunity to go one direction or another. However, I think that drone ship that was captured might make the difference. 3 Mechapedes still left over, maybe 4, maybe stuck in there. Hard to tell. A couple of Mechapedes making their way back, maybe here for the defense. 3 Mechapedes trying to save what's left of their base. Not sure that's the call. I think it's already a little bit too late in order to do that, but maybe they're trying to go for this base here. It's going to be hard to stop it either way. I think almost all of the structures here for Panic are just about gone. He's just got a handful of structures left, which means he's getting really close to getting knocked out of this. Mechapedes maybe not dealing damage that they need to. Only a singular refinery left. Mechapedes for Panic are moving their way in, beginning to destroy their opponent's base, beginning to destroy infrastructure left and right. However, Panic has a good number left over here, but maybe he just wants to mop up this so he can make his way back. Devourer Tanks making their way down, but it doesn't matter because Desolator Trooper won the base race, pulling one off over on Panic. Definitely exciting to see. I usually don't get to see mirror matches. I guess it's quotation mirror matches like that, but Mechapede into a base race. Both players teching up early. Those Devourer Tanks maybe not having the effect that Panic wanted. Either way, Desolator Trooper is the first to pull a point off. Give me one moment as we switch to the next round. Welcome to Tournament Rift. Over in the top left-hand corner of the map, changing his color to orange and also switching to Mark of Kane. This is Panic. His opponent over in the top right-hand side of the map still holding on to his blue and keeping his Traveler 59, and why wouldn't he? This is Desolator Trooper. I am a bit curious to see what the idea for Marked of Kane is. Maybe Panic's going to try to go a bit of man spam into avatars, at least in the late game, in order to deal with the forces of his opponents. He's going to have something, he's probably going to end up dealing with Mechapeds like Desolator Trooper was able to push out earlier. However, I think attack bikes can do quite well in those, especially if you time their volleys right and can hit the faces of those Mechapeds and knock them out early. However, the real problem, I think, will be the late game and dealing with those tripods. Although Black Hand does have an answer to it, I don't see too many people diving into the answer for it. Buzzer squads are beginning to threaten these two engineers. There are a couple of Awakened squads here. They might actually be able to prepare for the Buzzer squads. Buzzer squads moving their way in. This could still be anyone's game. Engineer turn around for some reason. He just doesn't want to live. That's because they're over on the right-hand side. One engineer does get taken down. Only one of them is remaining. That means the majority of the scouts there for Desolator Trooper do stay alive. Panic, maybe a little bit shaky there, did manage to save his units and might actually be able to stop Desolator Trooper from grabbing the Tiberium Spike, but I don't think he's just quite close enough. Both players grabbing Tiberium Spikes, grabbing both of those contested Tiberium Spikes over here in this sector. Going blow for blow, truly Gunwalker moving its way in, but not wanting to get a little bit too close because it's got to worry about those EMPs. Not that I think the Awakened squads can deal enough damage to him, but at the very least, it will be annoying for Desolator Trooper to deal with because he wants that scout available. He wants that Gunwalker moving across the map and looking into his opponent's base because you got to keep an eye on the Nod faction. So they don't do something sneaky, and I think sneaky might be what Panic has in store for his opponent. He wasn't able to win quite the engagement that he wanted, at least into the Skrin versus the Traveler 59 match of the last round, but it could still go either way. I think Sneaky might do him quite well because I think Skrin has a little bit harder time getting up and going. Sure, they can get a couple of Disintegrators, they can get a couple of Gunwalkers, but I think they have a hard time dealing with the Flame Tanks. I guess the Seeker Tanks can do quite well into them, but you've got to have a good enough number for them, and you have to have the scouting for it. Speaking of, first couple of Seeker Tanks are out. Rocket Bikes are here to destroy the Gunwalker. Doesn't look like any of the bikes do get taken down. There are 3 bikes here with the 1 Raider Buggy. That should be enough to make their way into their opponent's base, and indeed they are making that trip. Another Raider Buggy joining the fray here in a moment. Center of the map, Blue Tiberium is getting grabbed already by Desolator Trooper, already having great map control of the center. His opponent not really able to grab too much. Couple of Rocket Squads are unfortunately going to waste their shots on this Harvester. Harvester's about halfway full. Seeker Tanks moving their way in, destroying Rocket Bike after Rocket Bike, but however, Seeker Tank does go down. The numbers are here for the Nod faction. Panic pushing his opponent out, but maybe buying himself a little bit of time here to grab the Harvester. Harvester's gains are going to be a little bit lesser because of the loss of those units. Disintegrators moving their way in. Raider Buggies are going to take them out. 1 is going to get destroyed. 2, maybe 2 bikes here are going to get taken out here. More and more Disintegrators here for Desolator Trooper are going to deal with these units, but I think the Raider Buggies are definitely going to be the answer for it. The numbers are not here for Desolator Trooper. He just keeps sending his units into the meat grinder, at least for the current moment. But he did save his Harvester. Maybe Harvester down to less than half HP. Couple of shots left there. He might actually be able to still take it out. He does take it out with minimal casualties. He could have lost quite a lot more there, and I think Desolator Trooper is definitely on his back foot with this one. He's got to be careful. Panic is a little bit more warmed up, is a little bit more ready for the tactics of his opponent. Probably have 2 War Factories. Yep, 2 War Factories constantly producing those units. No all in, but this is going to be a lot of production to deal with. They are now beginning to focus on that pesky portal. It does get sold off there by Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper trying to hold on to everything he possibly can. Panic trying to change the tempo, force his opponent out by going after this reactor. He can't just afford to lose these reactors when they come in. Seeker Tank's moving their way in, but I don't think they have the numbers. There are 4 of them here, but that's not going to be enough to deal with that. If they can kill the attack bikes, maybe, but it doesn't matter because Seeker Tank after Seeker Tank does get taken down, and those Raider Buggies don't do 0 damage. Things are looking up for Panic. Can he keep up the pressure? That will remain to be seen. He is gathering Tiberium over on his side of the map. Attack bikes moving their way in. Photon Cannon is out here for the defense. Desolator Trooper is truly on his back foot. He's got to step things up. Stasis Chamber going down to half HP, getting sold off, saving Desolator Trooper just 200 in cash, but it doesn't matter because Panic is continuing the pressure. He's always looking for a target. He's always keeping his eye out, now going for the drone ship, but not able to finish it off as the remainder of the forces of Desolator Trooper do back their way out. Panic doing a much better job there, keeping up the pressure, keeping up the economy. He's already got an operations center out and ready to go. Probably going to see a bit of cheekiness here. Wouldn't be a bad strategy to get a couple of flame tanks and maybe a reckoner out and ready to go to attack the opposite side, because Desolate Trooper does not have the forces to contend with everything that's coming down. He's going to have a hard enough time just dealing with the bike and buggy. If you throw a couple of flame tanks in the mix, it's going to be even harder. Attack bikes continuing to do their drive-by of the drone ship. Drone ship is going to a little bit repair. Another photon cannon going to pop its way out, but it's not going to really get any shots off, not deal too much damage before it is taken down. And now I'm actually mistaken there. Disintegrator's doing a pretty good job of mopping up the Raider buggies, putting things in Desolator Trooper's favor. This aggression could turn into a disadvantage here for Panic, but Panic is doing everything he possibly can to keep up the pressure on Desolator Trooper. Tiberium Spike does get taken down. Panic continuing his assault on the drone ship. Desolator Trooper has had to spend so much money, and he's not been able to move into his natural expansion whatsoever. I think the forces that he has here are the forces that he's got left. Drone ship going down to half HP, but maybe focusing on that might be a little bit too much. Photon cannon does pop its way down. More and more forces of the Desolator Trooper do make their way across the map. He doesn't have that Tiberium Spike except for the one in the south, because he's really hurting on resources. Bike after bike does get taken down. Raider buggy after Raider buggy does go down. This is still anyone's game. However, it's still favoring, I think, Panic's for this. Secret tanks moving their way forward, maybe not concaved in the way they want. They are giving Desolator Trooper a little bit of time over here to grab those that little bit of Tiberium that's sitting over there, and they're long distance harvesting over on that secondary natural expansion because they cannot move their way over there. Drone ship already down to half HP. Looks like the bikes are just happy to contend with dealing more and more damage. They continue to whittle down the forces of Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper needs to make some sort of change. There is the EMP Raider buggy popping off on the drone ship, stopping it from really being able to do too much, and now it's taking even more damage. Panic might actually be able to pull off a win over here on Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper is in quite some trouble. His economy is hurting, his infrastructure is hurting, and he cannot expand. It does look like the drone ship did die or get sold off there in the background. Harvester getting taken down. I'm not sure how Desolator Trooper is going to be able to turn this around because he's lost the majority of his economy. And over in the background, it looks like Panic has grabbed the Tiberium Spike of his opponent. This has definitely been a calculated strategy, hitting the economy, pushing out these fast-moving units and keeping up the pressure. There is the fire cell. Desolator Troopers calling it GG, giving the win to Panic. Much deserved win there for Panic, doing a fantastic job there. Finally woken up, maybe doing a little bit of caffeine or having a little bit of caffeine there. Heroic bike in the background there. I'm not sure where it ran off to, but there is a heroic bike out and ready to go. The War Factory is grabbed over here. It looks like an engineer did manage to grab that, maybe producing that MCV that we're going to see, but I'm not sure Panic is going to allow it to happen. It's already down to half HP. Panic trying, or Desolator Trooper trying everything he can to get that MCV out for that $20, but he doesn't manage to make it. Selling off of his MCV, sorry, not his MCV, his War Factory will make that the GG. Our score is tied up to 1-1. Give us one moment as we move on to the next round. Round 3 takes place on Badland Hills. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, moving to, I can't tell if that's orange or yellow. It looks like yellow and orange on the deal, but it is yellow in-game. This is Panic playing the nod. His opponent over on the left-hand side of the map, scoring up his tie 1-1. This is Desolator Trooper holding on to his Traveler 59. Looks like we're going to get a bit of a descent rush. We've already got 5 out and ready to go. Maybe that's 4. Numbers are hard. It looks like it is 5. So 5 disintegrators out and ready to go. Couple of militant squads out for the scout, going to be poking their heads around and see what they can see. Hopefully disintegrators can make their way all the way up to the top and make their way around, making the rush a little bit worth it. Disintegrator rush, not quite as expensive as some of the other rushes. It looks like Stasis Chamber is finishing that upgrade for these fast legs. Not sure if that's actually the name of it, but it does essentially do the same thing, and it does do what it says on the 10. Panic not scouting this northern section, but maybe he's not expecting his opponent to get a rush off, because so far he hasn't done really any rushes. He's been rather traditional in his strategy. Militant Squad getting a kill on one of the Buzzer Squads, but it doesn't look like these Disintegrators have been noticed just quite yet. They might make it around a couple of these Militant Squads. Militant Squads can catch them and can do a bit of damage to them if they're not careful. Looks like one Tiberium Spike per player, but his opponent, Panic, has not grabbed his Tiberium Spike over in the top right-hand corner. Maybe he doesn't know it's there. Maybe he's not quite as practiced. Either way, he doesn't have it. He's going to lose his other one down there in the north. If this match goes further into the game, losing that Tiberium Spike will begin to add up. Desolator Trooper moving in for that Tiberium Spike, trying to see what he can see, but of course not knowing that it hasn't been captured yet, but he can destroy it before his opponent can even get into it. Desolator Trooper's pinging right there, doing a little bit of BMing, I think, letting his opponent know that he doesn't have that Tiberium Spike. Raider Buggy moving its way in, but it doesn't matter because the damage is here for the Disintegrators. Disintegrators do have a little bit of height advantage. They can play with the Fog of War here, and they can bounce back and forward between this Tiberium Spike and that Raider Buggy. His opponent doing everything he can, Panic doing everything he can to try and destroy these Disintegrators, but Disintegrators are not going to allow it. Raider Buggy already down to half HP, and Tiberium Spike is soon to follow. Tiberium Spike does go down. Desolator Trooper getting revenge for the last match because his opponent went for his Tiberium Spike, and Desolator Trooper is taking that in his notes and is applying it to this game. Drone Trip has moved over to the natural expansion, but he's a little bit behind on Panic. Panic seems to be a little bit higher on the economic front, just sort of in general, but they are tied this time around if you're watching on stream. Disintegrator's still up over here for Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper's been able to micro these quite well and keep them alive. Normally, these troops die rather quickly, so I'm really impressed to see how long he's been able to keep them alive. Raider Buggy moving its way in, finally able to pick off more and more of these Disintegrators. This might be the end of it. However, I think they have definitely won their medals. They've definitely made up their costs. There's a couple of squads left, but I'm not sure if really any of them are going to make up. He does try to make his way back in and get a couple more shots over there. Do move a Seeker Tank in, maybe trying to take out one of this Raider Buggies, turning just this little bit of an assault into maybe a bit of a trap. Now focusing on the Harvester because it looks like both players are fighting over the blue Tiberium. Seeker Tanks are going to go down. Attack Bike moving their way in. More and more Attack Bikes. Harvester may get taken down. That might be rather good for them if they can mop this up. Another bike getting taken down, but it looks like the Harvester does make it out. He was not able to grab blue Tiberium while his opponent was able to do that instead. Desolator Trooper is having to fight a feigning retreat, but he does have at the very least a consolation prize, which is this full load of Tiberium, which is worth twice as much as regular Tiberium. I need to do the numbers, or if someone in chat can let me know. I'm not sure how much a regular Harvester is supposed to hold inside that Harvester, as in when it's got green Tiberium and it's full, how much it's supposed to be able to deposit. So that could make things worth it if two Seeker Tanks are well worth grabbing blue Tiberium. Once again, I really need to sit down with a spreadsheet. Disintegrators out of here in full effect. They are pretty good into the Raider Buggies. If they can get range, they do take out one of them. They're doing pretty well into a unit that is definitely meant for anti-infantry, but it doesn't look like the microing is here quite yet for Panic. Panic maybe doing like his namesake says, and maybe doing a little bit of panicking himself. Harvester moving its way in. Harvester moving its way to its doom. Attack Bike's going for that exposed Seeker Tank. They are going to get a really good volley off and take it out rather quickly. Does look like Shock Troopers are going to move their way in. Those will be really strong into both sets of these units. Shock Troopers focusing down the bikes. Bikes going down left and right. Looks like Bike and Buggy is not favoring Panic like it did previously. Raider Buggy's moving in, trying to get those Shock Troopers, but they're not able to make it. There's just too much armor. There's just too much firepower here because the Seeker Tanks, with their splash damage, are just going to be able to do a good chunk of damage. Shock Troopers blinking forward, trying to get a couple more of those units, and almost no Attack Bikes are left. Almost no Raider Buggies are left. More and more Raider Buggies make their way in. More and more forces here for Panic. Say what you will about Panic, but he's been doing a very good job of continuing to resupply of his units, and his units have been pretty tight for the most part. Neither player really playing sloppy here, but it looks like Desolator Trooper might be at a small advantage, at least for the current moment. I missed this third Tiberium Spike over here for Panic, as he does lose it. Desolator Trooper now putting the tempo in his favor, forcing his opponent out before maybe he's a little bit ready. Raider Buggies moving their way in, Venom moving their way in, but of course those Seeker Tanks can look up, the Seeker Tanks can fire up, and so can the Shock Troopers. Shock Troopers now beginning to focus on Venom after Venom, as it looks like the forces for Desolator Trooper are actually being pushed back. However, the Shock Troopers haven't been able to group because they had to deal with those area units over there. This could still go anyone's game. I think the primary thing is going to boil down to these attack bikes. Attack bikes do get taken down. Raider buggies do get taken down. More and more Venoms do join the fray. Panic is trying desperately to switch to a good transition. This is still anyone's game, and it looks like Panic might actually be able to turn this around. He can now focus on 2 of these harvesters here. If Desolator Trooper's not careful, that could shore up the economic disadvantage. However, it looks like Panic is actually up on the economy. Destroying these 2 harvesters will be to Desolator Trooper's disadvantage. Desolator Trooper may have been able to destroy 3 of those Tiberium spikes, but it doesn't matter if you have enough harvesters to keep going. And now Desolator Trooper is on his back foot as Panic has begun to turn things around. Panic getting a little bit of an upgrade, those laser turrets out and ready to go. 1 click on the harvester, saving it, which means it's going to be able to deposit its resources. Venom's trying to do a little bit of harassment. They do have the laser upgrade as well. Would be nice to see Panic go for this Tiberium spike, shore up his economic lead. I think that's what he does need to focus on. Doesn't look, it actually looks like over in the background, this defender, or this tower has been destroyed. This construction yard. Construction yard is almost absolutely destroyed. I think it walked right into that defensive tower, taking so much damage. Refinery either getting sold off or destroyed here. Desolator Trooper spending some time licking his wounds, trying to build his forces up. He did transition over to Annihilator tripods. Those can help, but the bike and buggy don't do bad into the tripods in general, especially if they can get those Tib core missiles. Construction yard not even back to half HP. Desolator Trooper actually grabbing both EMPs. EMP hitting 1 of the Venoms, but the Venom's able to maneuver out just in time. Now focusing on the defensive tower. They should be focusing on the EMP control center here in a minute. More and more Venoms join the fray. It looks like that ended up being a good transition with them being out here in force. It looks like they might be going for that Tiberium spike. I would be. Capitalize on that as economic gains. Venom's moving their way in to try to hit this Megapede in the head. Megapede doing a fantastic job, however, destroying the majority of the Venoms. I think he was able to get 4 of them right there. Venom's not doing well into that Megapede whatsoever. I don't even think the Megapede has any upgrades. It doesn't look like, no, it doesn't look like he's got any upgrades just quite yet on that. Bike and buggy controlling the center of the map. Things have really switched into Panic's favor. Looks like he's been able to tighten up his economic lead as he goes forward. A little bit of misclick over, a little bit of auto-pathing over here for that attack bike. Panic does see an Annihilator tripod. He does finally go for the Tiberium Rift, but it was pretty slow in there. Blink forward for the Shock Troopers, but there are only 2 of them. 1 click over here, grabbing a couple of these bikes, but these bikes are pretty fast. However, the tripod is going to be able to mop up the stragglers over here, as I think it is able to get 4 units. Only 2 Venoms left. There are the Tib Core rockets. Maybe a little bit late. I definitely think he should have gone for that Tiberium spike sooner rather than later, and he still has an opportunity to do it. He needs to capitalize on his one advantage so far, which is his gains. I don't think he has T3 just quite yet. I say that, and there he is making me a liar. So he does have T3, but I think his opponent is up on the upgrade. EMP Control Center going down in the north. Would be nice to see him scout the one in the south as well, at least to see what's going on. Neither player has been able to really get too many scouts off either way, which is going to be unfortunate because they're both going to end up in Fog of War. Militant Squad just sort of deciding that he no longer wants to live. Understandable. Rest in peace. There he goes. Still only 2 Venoms out over here. Panic finally going for this Tiberium Spike. Tiberium Spike should be going down here in a moment, but he now knows that he's got these Tib Core rockets. Panic still sort of infuriatingly not finishing off this Tiberium Spike, but maybe it's worth more to continue to hurt it. Maybe he's just trying to bait his opponent out. Maybe he doesn't know what he's got in the tank. Probably going to see an Eradicator Hexapod here in a bit, but not just quite yet. It looks like his opponent needs to pad his stats, need to pad his formation. Tiberium Spike finally going down, but there are 2 in the south. Panic's lead does seem to be increasing still, even without those Tiberium Spike. 1 bike sort of left to its doom, getting destroyed, but Panic has done a very good job of making his way into his base. He does have a Redeemer. Things are looking much better for him. There is the Warp Chasm, which means we can get an Eradicator Hexapod out here. A couple more Venoms popping their way up, and a few more bike and buggy over here in the north. Focusing on the Buzzer squads. Do get a little bit of scouting, but it gets destroyed immediately. Tripods moving their way forward. Panic not wanting that, but is wanting a little bit of scouting over here. Speaking of scouting, he does have a couple of stealth tanks moving their way in, looking for a soft target to grab, or at the very least, he's able to get some good scouting off. Small skirmish in the north as a couple of bikes do go down. Not sure where those stealth tanks ran off to. Cultists chasing them there in the background. Hopefully Panic is paying attention to that. Losing that early on would hurt. 2 engineers making their way over into the Redeemer, just not quite able to keep up. Venom's taking a couple of really good shots off at that. There is the Rage Gen. Rage Gen does pop off, which means the Annihilator tripods will begin to focus each other. Panic doing rather quite well, padding his formation here with these units, and it looks like Desolator Trooper throws in the towel there. Seeing that Redeemer, seeing that Rage Gen, and forcing his 2 units down. His forces were looking quite anemic, and he was quite down on the economy, just not able to keep up with Panic. Panic showing that he was definitely one of these old pros, and he just needs a few games to get going. He just needs a few games to see what you're doing, because he now has a 1-point lead, bringing him to 2 points, and his opponent, Desolator Trooper, having 1. Desolator Trooper does have time to turn this around. However, he is on his back foot. If Panic wins this next round, Desolator Trooper is going to be in trouble. Give me one moment as we switch to that very round. Round number 4 takes place on Tournament Airstrip. Desolator Trooper is truly against the wall. He's got to do a complete reverse sweep. He needs to win 2 games in a row in order to stay in this tournament, in order to pull one off over on Panic, over in the top left-hand corner of the map. Playing the blue, this, of course, is Desolator Trooper, sticking with his Traveler 59. His opponent, still for the moment, over in the top right-hand corner, in the lead, in the reds, this is Panic. Panic is playing Nod, as you can see down there on the overlay, if you're not familiar with which faction or what the factions look like in those little bitty symbols right now. Couple of a good number of buzzer squads moving their way in, able to get almost close. No, yep. Still could go either way. I thought that was going to go in the way of the buzzer squads. They got so close, but the microing really was there for Panic. Not sure if Panic is a Red Alert 3 player or what he is. Desolator Trooper actually leaving his assimilator in an unfortunate spot. There it is. The assimilator does go down, and it is taken down. That's why there were so many buzzer squads there. Losing 500 this early on in the game is going to sting. Panic has, like I said before, truly woken up and is doing much better into Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper started off strong, but he's beginning to peter out, or maybe he's playing at the same skill level as he was before, but Panic has finally become online. Raider Buggy already moving its way in, getting a nice scout over there for his faction for Panic. Buzzer squad's getting a little bit of scouting over there, but it's only going to matter so much. Drone ship moving its way to its natural expansion, just a little bit behind Panic, but that refinery's not up, so that movement doesn't matter a crazy amount. Panic seeming a little bit more practiced in this round than he was previously. And honestly, like I said, Desolator Trooper's really not doing bad. I think Panic has just been a little bit tighter on his formations, on his capitalizing of advantages. I'm really not sure why he was going for that, why he wasn't going for those Tiberium spikes, but maybe he knows something that I do not, because at the end of the day, he did win that round. Maybe he just wasn't concerned about it. Maybe he just wanted to keep it at low HP. For example, there is a bot in Dota designed to fight the highest level players, to fight the highest level professionals, and one way it uses to bait those extremely high-skilled, high-octane players is the bot decides that it wants to get itself down to low HP and then turn things around on their opponent. So maybe that's what Panic was trying. Scorpion Tank's here for the defense. First one is out. It's going to have a hard time dealing with 3 of these guys, but the Rocket Squads could tie things up while the tank soaks up more of the damage more and more. Rocket Squad do produce their way out. Only 2 of them here. Looks like Panic is going for these Scorpion Tanks instead. This could go either way. A couple of Buster Squads are going to mop up these units. Hand of Nod does go down. Things actually might be in Desolator Trooper's advantage. There are the Shredder turrets, but the Shredder turrets are in low power mode. They do finally pop their way out. Defense is strong, but I think the assault is stronger. Seeker Tanks are able to get one of the Harvester. Raider Buggy moving its way in, making its way back to base to try to absorb some of the shots. Lightning Spike out on the front line. Secondary War Factory, probably followed by several of these Scorpion Tanks that come out. Scorpion Tanks are definitely better on the defense. They do take a little bit longer to build, but they can absorb a good number of shots, and I think 1 for 1, they do really well into the Seeker Tanks. Desolator Trooper probably overstaying his welcome, but is trying to continue to whittle down his opponent's force. Destroying Harvester after Harvester can make a difference, but losing all of these Seeker Tanks is going to sting. One Harvester barely able to make its way out. Desolator Trooper trying to do everything he can to keep his opponent from harvesting, but he did finally lose this engagement. Corruptor making its way forward, trying to help out these Seeker Tanks, but it doesn't matter because 2 Seeker Tanks do go down. One Corruptor moving its way forward and is in an unfortunate position. It's going to get taken down rather quite unceremoniously. Panic holding on to it and not doing like his namesake. Definitely wasn't panicking there. He was doing very, very good. Everything seemed to be measured. He was able to get that second War Factory out, which I think made a difference in the defense, and that defender's advantage was in full effect. Corruptor trying to heal Corruptor, but it's not able to say it as a rank up does happen for that Scorpion tank. These Corruptors just absolutely sent to their doom. Extremely unfortunate for Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper only has a couple of Seeker Tanks over here on the front line, and it looks like Desolator Trooper is truly on his back foot now. He's gone from aggressor to aggressed-on. Harvester going down for Desolator Trooper. So many Scorpion Tanks joining the fray, joining this assault. There's a good transition right there. They do have disintegrators. These Scorpion tanks will have a hard time dealing with the disintegrators as a whole. Panic sensing that is going to back his way up, get a couple of more reinforcements out, but he is going to misclick, is not going to pay attention to the Scorpion tank as it just sort of gets sent to its doom. Actually not doing too bad because Desolator Trooper only has a couple of units. However, it's already down to half HP. Tiberium Spike has not been regained by Desolator Trooper, that giving Panic a little bit more of a lead. Desolator Trooper actually throwing in the towel, not having maybe the forces or the economy to contend with that, not able to keep up with Panic, which means that Panic is going to progress further into the tournament. He was able to win that with a 1-3 lead, as in 3 in his points and 1 in Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper did fare quite well, but I don't know where he is at in the bracket. I'm not sure if he goes down to loser bracket or if he's knocked out and has one more opportunity to pop out in that 5th group. That concludes match number 1. Give me a moment as we scale up the next one. Match number 2 takes place on Arabian Oasis. Over in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing the blue in the Reaper 17, this is Buka. His opponent for the moment in the bottom right-hand corner of the map in the red, playing the Steel Talons. Give it up for Mystic Elite. I might be calling him Mystic Elite. I might be calling him Elite. I haven't decided which one I want to go with. I'll probably just change it up a whole bunch to make it confusing, but you just need to know that he's the red player, and he is in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Arabian Oasis is brought to you by the Scorpion Tank Timeshare. One piece of destruction, one blast at a time. Elite moving his first little set of scouts moving in there, trying to probably get a foxhole out early. Would be nice to see that. Hopefully it'll be able to take a couple of shots off at the reactor, but maybe that's why the reactor is a little bit further away here for Buka, to avoid that annoyance where he has to choose between this or the other. But it looks like he's going to go for the shielded harvesters instead. Not sure that's entirely wise, but I guess he will eventually have to deal with that. Those rifleman squads aren't going to be able to do so much. Mystic Elite may be messing up a little bit over here. His refinery in an unfortunate position. That's definitely not going to be an optimal, and that is going to affect his economy overall. Buka already grabbing his EMP control center. His opponent has not done the same or tried to and lost it to buzzer squads. I wasn't able to see that. Rifleman squad still not setting their way up in, still not setting up a foxhole really anywhere over here. I would definitely probably set a foxhole probably about here-ish. In order to deal damage to really anything, because there's a power plant here that you can go for, which is probably what he needs to be focusing his fire on, because those rifleman squads do significantly better into the reactors than they do a bunch of other things. Shielded Harvester making its way over to the natural expansion over here for Buka. Looks like MCV has already made its way over in the southern section, expanding to that natural expansion rather quite handily. Refinery out on the front line here any moment here for Buka. Looks like Buka's a little bit ahead on the economy, and that would make sense with the positioning of this refinery right here. MRTs are out for the Steel Talons with a couple of pit bulls. This should be a strong assault. His opponent's got to set up a transition here rather quickly. Rifleman squad's moving their way into the natural expansion, but it doesn't matter because Shardwalker is here to pick them off. However, both players looks like have been able to get decent scouts off on one another. And that's going to be important for both of them. But I think the scouting's more important for Skrin in the mid to late game, so you can see those transitions, so you can prepare for it. You pretty much know what Steel Talons is going to do overall. I mean, I guess we have seen a couple players go into those zone raiders and do that. The single raiders are out. They're going to walk directly into the Pitbulls because Pitbulls are absolutely cross-eyed and cannot hit a moving target. Pitbulls getting targeted down, but it looks like the MCVs with Rifleman squads are going to move their way in. Sorry, MRTs with Rifleman squads are going to move their way in. Mystic Elite has time to turn that economic disadvantage into a positive here if he keeps up this assault, because so far Buka has not mounted too much of a defense. He's got a couple of Shard Walkers out, and he does have a Devourer tank, which can definitely make the difference there. 2 Devourer tanks out on the way, 3 Devourer tanks. That will definitely aid him. I would like to see Mystic Elite over here to grab the blue Tiberium, considering he does have at least temporary map control. And that would help that economic disparity. Words are hard. That economic disparity between the two of them, because it looks like Buka is quite ahead on the economy. Elite is beginning to catch up, but he's still behind. This blue Tiberium, like I said, would go a long way to help that. Pitbull's moving their way in, but I think they are a little bit too late in order to deal the damage that they need to. Pitbull's moving their way in to the base in sort of a rather unfortunate position. Two of them going down. One of them extremely hurt. Mystic Elite not microing them in the way he needs to, as he just loses 4 of them for free. Pitbull's moving to the north. Would be nice to see all those groups as Mystic Elite just sends unit after unit to their doom, including these MRTs. MRTs making their way forward, but there's only so much damage they're going to be able to do. They could focus on this Devourer tank, but I'm not sure how much it's going to help. Buka now controlling the center of the map. Multiple Pitbulls moving their way in. This is what they need to do earlier. Devourer tank is going down. This is the best place to start picking them off. EMP popping off somewhere, hitting actually the majority of those Pitbulls. Buka doing a very good job of utilizing his map control, utilizing his EMP control center, turning this assault into a devastation over here for Mystic Elite. Mystic Elite losing units left and right. He's lost so much on the economic front. Titans are out here. EMP control center still not grabbed. Mystic Elite letting a harvester auto-harvest into the blue Tiberium, getting decimated. Buka having much better control, it looks like, than Elite. Elite not looking in top form. Devourer tanks filling up on the blue Tiberium. I'm assuming that fills them up twice as fast because of how much it's worth, but that's just a guesstimation. Titans are here in full effect. They are trying to position and poke their way around, maybe to run into these Devourer tanks. If the Devourer tanks can make their way over here and the Titans make their way in time, I think they can get a good concave off, but right now they are at a bit of a disadvantage, and they're already taking free shots. One of them already getting targeted down. There is a Behemoth here. The Titans do need to move forward in order to assist this Behemoth. One Titan going down for free. Looks like Buka being much, much tighter in his formation, much, much tighter in everything like that, and has already moved on to his secondary natural expansion, increasing his economic lead even further. Mystic Elite has caught up. He's gone from 3K behind to 1K behind, so that is helping. There's a tech center here for Mystic Elite, which means he's got his T3 out and ready to go. Not sure if his opponent has done the same. It looks like Buka might be behind on the economic front. He does have regrowth. I don't know if those are centers. Simulators, regrowth simulators on both sides. Buka being a little bit cheeky here, recharging his Devourer tanks on top of his opponent's natural expansion. That should develop, should regrow, I should say, by the time they get there. But those little bit of denying tactics are really good to see, and that is a strategy normally you see in games like Dota, which isn't quite, I'm not going to call Dota an RTS, it's very much a MOBA. I know, especially early on, Dota and League were classified as RTSs, but at least for me being a Command and Conquer and an Age player, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Buzzer squads here for the scout. Buka doing a fantastic job with the scouting. Pitbull's moving their way in, actually getting one of the harvesters, focusing down another one. There's the one click, saving 3 of the harvester. That is why Buka was able to group them, which means he now has time to control the center of the map. Pitbulls are just sort of stuck there, hitting nothing too important. Behemoth's a little bit too far forward, I think, for my liking. There's a good number of them, but it would be nice to see them lined up here. Put your guys in formation, Elite. That's definitely going to be something to deal with. These Pitbulls aren't that important over in the north. These Behemoths are significantly more important than almost anything you have. These will be the linchpin, and they can win the game for him. Shardwalker taking a little bit of extra damage on its way out. Buka doing a fantastic job grabbing all of that blue Tiberium. He is a bit in the red. EMP does pop its way off, hitting the majority of these Titans. Titans are in danger. There are behemoths here in the background, but they're too far back. It doesn't matter. The EMP control center coming in clutch once again. His opponent still hasn't grabbed the EMP control center. Now the behemoths are in danger. This is Buka's game to lose. Massive, massive EMP truly changing things around. Lightning Spike over here to absorb more of the shots as behemoth after behemoth goes down. I'm not sure if Elite can come back from that. That's two massive mistakes, one right after another, and having this economic disparity is going to make a difference. The Marv is here. It does have 4 engineers in it, which means it can absorb a lot of these shots, but I don't think that matters. This many Devourer tanks, along with the tripod, probably followed by Eradicator Hexspot here in a moment, will make that difference. It does look like the Marv is trying to make its way over here to grab some economic gains, which he's definitely going to need. Buka almost 7k in the lead for economy. I believe that's per minute. There's the T3. Probably going to get a Warp Chasm here in a minute, but I'm not sure Buka really needs to do it. If Buka's able to get a little bit of scouting off, he can see that his opponent doesn't really have anything whatsoever. Buka just has so much on the map. Auto Harvester is going to run into its doom, going to run into these tripods, and his opponent's really got to be hurting. His Mammoth Tank isn't nothing to scoff at, and these behemoths can make a difference. It would have been nice to see it earlier. It would be nice to see him still grab this EMP Control Center. Not grabbing that is going to put him at his advantage, because that EMP Control Center is probably set up for... that EMP Control Center is probably set up for another assault here, another cooldown. Being up here in a moment. APM out for the Watchtowers. Not sure how much that's going to help Mystic Elite. Mystic Elite doesn't have too many other than the Watchtowers, so I think that might be a little bit of a wasted upgrade. Marv trying to move its way in. It doesn't look like Elite has enough forces in order to defend this. Marv's only going to be able to do so much to these Annihilator Tripods. Annihilator Tripods should have the advantage. Behemoth is going to take a couple of good shots off, but the majority of the Behemoths are in a bad position over here. Mammoth Tank moving its way around. Good EMP there on the Marv. Marv does get taken down, and I think that is the last lifeline over here for his opponent, for Mystic Elite. There it is. That is the first round going for Buka. Mystic Elite is going to have to tighten things up. Buka in top form in that match, doing significantly better than we have seen him do so far. Let's see if he can keep that lead. Give me a second while I switch to the next round and ban that bot. Round number 2 takes place on Tournament Highlands. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the blue, sticking with the Reaper 17, this is Buka. His opponent in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, switching to green, but playing the black hand, this is Mystic Elite. This map should give Elite just a little bit more leeway to capitalize on mistakes and transition changes if he scouts appropriately. There's definitely a lot more room here to play around with than in the previous map, for sure. Arabian Oasis is one of those much smaller maps, which means every mistake is going to be critical, especially when it comes to the transition chains. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the chat. If you are paying attention, if you could let me know if the bitrate is any better than normal, if you've seen any of the deals. I did increase it by 3,000, so it is up to 6K for a bitrate, and hopefully that means it's a little bit less on the... I think they said it was blurry when I was going around, which would make sense because the bitrate was pretty low for that, especially for my resolution. Two protected Tiberium spikes over here per player, as well as a blue Tiberium in the north and blue Tiberium in the south. Hopefully Mystic Elite a little more practice, but unfortunately it looks like his Operations Center has been scouted, and his opponent clearly knows that. Buka does see this Operations Center, which means we're probably going to get a Flame Tank here any moment. There it is. First Flame Tank is out. The real thing will boil down to if his opponent is prepared for it, and that Devourer Tank will do quite well into this Flame Tank if he scouts them, if he's able to keep up with them. Another Flame Tank probably on the horizon, probably followed by a Reckoner. That would be standard, but he might mix it up. Yep, another Flame Tank is making its way over there. Confessor Cabal squads are going to scout the Devourer Tank, which means that the Flame Tank knows where to not be. I say that as it runs its way into the middle of the map, going down to half HP, getting taken out there. Flame Tank being absolutely destroyed there. Another Flame Tank has popped its way out. Reckoner has its Black Hand Squads out and ready to go. but one of them was already spotted as the Devourer tank with a Corruptor makes its way across the map. Only halfway charged for the moment, but Buka doing much, much better in the defense. He just needs to get those scouting out. He just needs to see where his opponent is, and it looks like he's accurately predicting where that Flame tank's going to be, where that Reckoner is going to be. He's only got one Devourer tank over here, so it should be able to stop the Flame tank, but that Reckoner is going to be the real problem. This is a chance for Mystic Elite to turn things around. Scorpion tank out here for the defense. The Devourer tank and Corruptor move their way in. Reckoner maybe not paying quite as much attention as it needs to, but the Devourer tank is still on the front line. Corruptor going for the rockets. Rocket squad's good into the Devourer tank, but definitely not good into this Corruptor, especially with it being right here. Reckoner did get deployed over there in the south. Flame tank is going for the drone ship over here. It looks like Buka might actually be in a bit of trouble if he's not careful. This could turn into a bit of a base race as Rocket Squad after Rocket Squad does go down. Corruptor did finally get taken down. One Devourer tank is all that's left over on that side. Reckoner not focusing on anything real important. Needs to be going for these buildings. Has wasted a lot of time going for the Harvesters. Mystic Elite not capitalizing on what gains he can. Drone ship going down to almost nothing, but bouncing its way up, saving that drone ship, which means that it can keep going. Flame tank trying to go to the north. Hopefully it goes for this refinery. Refinery is in danger. Engineer popping its way into the refinery just in time in order to save it. Black Hand squads are going to try and help finish off this extractor, but the Buzzer squads are here. Buka's defense is too tight for Mystic Elite to capitalize on. Buzzer squad's definitely saving that reactor for sure, and Devourer tank destroying that Flame tank makes a pretty big difference. Both refineries are already repaired by those engineers popping their way in. The real problem is going to be with this drone platform. Drone platform also getting repaired as well. Probably worried about more Flame tanks. Maybe not a bad strategy. A couple of rocket squads here, but the rocket squads are going to be in some danger if they're not careful. These Buzzer squads are going to be very good at mopping up these units. And there they go, mopping up all those rocket squads, mopping up all those infantry, and all of the troubles there for his opponent, for Buka. Transition's going to be 5 of these rocket squads. Hopefully they move their way around the north, although I think his opponent did see them coming. He definitely saw them now after that. A couple of volleys wasted, but they should be recharged in enough time to go over here. I don't know if 2 volleys are going to be enough for 5 attack bikes to kill these shielded Harvesters. We'll get to see here in a moment. Mystic Elite definitely keeping up the aggression over here. First volley is out, not taking it down to quite half HP, so it might have a little bit more there. One Harvester does get taken down with a full load of Tiberium, but 4 bikes do go down for it. I think that is in Elite's favor. If he can keep it up, things will be great for him, but I think he's behind on economy. Now that I look, he definitely is. Buka being a little bit more practiced over here with his build order and his defense than Elite. Maybe Elite's just not quite warmed up. Either way, he's going to have some trouble. Lightning Spike over here on the front line, actually focusing down on the Harvester, probably destroying one of those Harvesters there in the background, or some sort of building, or some sort of unit, not sure what it was. Elite destroying the Tiberium Spike over on the top right-hand corner to get himself a little bit of a gain and maybe use those units to his best advantage. No answer quite yet to the Lightning Spike. Lightning Spike also not focusing on really any target. Maybe it got too far away. One Harvester is almost destroyed. If it's not careful, he will lose that. Plenty of Devourer tanks out here for the defense, and why not, considering what your opponent has out and ready to go. A couple of engineers or assimilators here for the Skrin faction. Probably going to make their way down and capitalize on that lead. Go for those Tiberium Spikes because this Lightning Spike still is uncontested into all these units. Harvesting is all but stopped inside the old main base. It's a little bit better over on the natural expansion in Elite's doing what he should do, which is sending that Harvester to the north in order to continue its harvesting. But these ones that are left here are going to get attacked nonetheless. Lightning Spike is finally getting taken down. Does look like the assimilators are making their way over here. There's a bit of a defense over here by the Buzzers. Buzzers trying to protect their assimilators, and they might actually be able to get away with this capture. Scorpion tanks here in the north, which means they're not going to be able to, I don't think they're going to be able to respond in time to the capture simulator, at least one of them moving their way into that Tiberium Spike. They're not going to gain the 500 back, but they will gain something. One assimilator is going to grab that Tiberium Spike, and not much Mystic Elite can do right now other than try and recapture it. That is going to make up the difference for that Tiberium Spike, but it's going to take a little bit of time because it doesn't get that initial infusion. However, taking both of these could make a difference, but I don't think really Buka needs it. Buka has twice the economy as his opponent, and Buka's already moving on to the secondary natural expansion, which is this one that's right here. It's the contested one in the center. Doesn't look like we're getting much of a transition for Mystic Elite. Mystic Elite does have 2 War Factories out and ready to go, is producing a couple of Scorpion tanks, but his opponent has the answer to it, has the Shardwalkers here to absorb some of the shots, and has the Devourer tanks to continue the damage. One Shardwalker does go down for free, but it might be just enough in order to take out one of these Scorpion tanks, as the majority of the Scorpion tanks have to scoop their way and try to escape this onslaught. They're so hurt, and I don't think they have the numbers over here for Buka. I think, once again, this is Buka's game to lose. It very much so is in the bag, I think, for him. He has to mess up really bad, especially with that 2 times economic front, both on the economy per, I believe that's per minute, and overall gathered. There's a 30k disparity between the two, and Buka just has so many forces and is now controlling the center of the map and is going for the blue Tiberium in both the north and the south, increasing his economic lead even further. There are plenty of Scorpion tanks out here, but not enough to deal with all of these units. It would be nice to see Buka getting a little bit of scout in, trying to see what's out on the horizon. He does have a couple of Confessor Cabal squads that can make their way across to the center of the map, see what's coming, but they will be taken out rather quickly by the Shardwalkers. At the very least, they would see what is coming their way. Assault might truly begin in earnest as the Shardwalkers moving their way in, try to absorb a good number of these shots. Devourer tanks dealing the primary amount of the damage. Scorpion tank after Scorpion tank getting taken down. This might spell the doom for Mystic Elite. Mystic Elite, I don't think, has the forces for this. Shredder turret on the front line, but it's going to do little to stop this onslaught. Focus fire is in full effect, destroying Scorpion tank after Scorpion tank still, and I think Mystic Elite is in trouble as more and more reinforcements begin to join this assault. More and more Shardwalkers do pop their way out on the map. Mystic Elite throwing in the towel, giving yet another point to Buka. Mystic Elite has one more opportunity to turn things around, one more opportunity to do a reverse sweep, but he's got to win the next 3 in a row. Definitely going to be uphill into Buka. Let's see how he fares in round number 3. Thank you for joining me on Tournament Odyssey. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the nod in the yellow, this is Mystic Elite. His opponent for them over in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing the blue, switching to GDI. This is Buka. Buka faring quite well into his opponent. Looks like he does have that 2-0 lead. My interface did upgrade correctly. Maybe we might get to see a little bit of rushing over here for Mystic Elite, but he did try that last time, but Buka had the scouts, Buka had the transition. Those Devourer tanks could make a big difference, and he is, I think, subverting expectation, getting this construction yard out and ready to go, which means that Mystic Elite might have to change his strategy than maybe what he was thinking initially, probably expecting a little bit of the Skrin faction. 2 War Factories out, or 1 War Factory out per player. Scouting phase definitely in full effect as the scouts for each make their way across the map. Buka moving into Elite's base and his opponent doing the exact same. Nothing really sketchy here from the GDI. I'm probably not going to see anything sketchy. Second Refinery is out. Looks like it's a little bit ahead of his opponent. 2 War Factories over here. Going to get a little bit of scouting, or going to get a little bit of aggression, early aggression out and ready to go. 2 Scorpion tanks out, but that is going to get seen over here by Buka, which means Buka has time to respond and is actually microing his rifleman squads. That Scorpion tank needs to ignore these units and just make its way across the map. Playing with those units is definitely not wise. I know wanting to get rid of those scouts might be helpful, but you've already been seen, my guy. You might as well try to race your way across the map and see what you can see. MCV has moved its way over into the first natural expansion for Buka, not followed behind his opponent. Looks like this is truly an all-in because the MCV is gone. Only 2 Harvesters out here, not 3 like I typically like to see, but maybe they know something I do not. Scorpion tanks moving their way in, now uncontested on this construction yard, but good transition over here by Buka. Buka already prepared for it, already has Predator tanks. Predator tanks going to do very well into the Scorpion tanks, especially since they have Defender's advantage. Hopefully we can get a War Factory out here on the front line, but maybe just mass producing these units. Strangely going for a Shatterer, but Buka could be in a bit of trouble here. His construction yard is beginning to get focused down, AA battery for some reason. Maybe that's a misclick. Not sure why that is. That's a wasted little bit of economy either way, but maybe he's expecting more on the assault. Either way, it's going to be here as Scorpion Tank does pop its way down. For some reason, another AA battery. I'm not sure what he's doing. Get a watchtower out or something, my guy, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. Buka making some weird plays. Scorpion Tanks are going down either way. It might be a bit sloppy, but it doesn't look like Mystic Elite can keep up the assault for too much longer. He did sell off his MCV. This is truly an all-in. More and more units do begin to join the fray. There we go, finally getting a watchtower, which could be a bit useful. 2 Shatterer tanks are doing quite well into all of this, getting to focus down the man spam and getting a couple of really good shots off on the Scorpion tanks. Not sure why the production of Shatterers left and right. I feel like the tanks would do better, but maybe he thinks that because of the grouping of the Scorpion tanks that he can get a couple of shots off, as in 1 Shatterer hitting 2 or 3 Scorpion tanks might deal more damage than 1 Predator tank hitting just 1 Scorpion tank. Maybe that's the thinking. You'd sell off your AA battery. It's not going to do anything other than cost you power. I know that's easy to say, but I don't know what the purpose of that AA battery is. I doubt we're going to get Venoms, and if we do, you could produce rocket squads much cheaper, and rocket squads would do better into both the Scorpion tanks and do better into that. Mystic Elite is mixing it up and is trying something a little bit different. He's not able to keep up with the economy of his opponent, so maybe he was hoping that he can get the rush going forward. Plenty of Scorpion tanks out there going to get the crush, are going to be able to group over time, but this is just going to buy his opponent more and more time. The longer this goes on, the better Buka is going to do, the more there is going to be a difference in economy. And it looks like Buka has a total increase of it. MCV is out for Mystic Elite. He's given up on his rush. Probably not a bad idea. He's definitely going to win that, but that means he's going to be behind in a traditional fight. Buka looks like he's paying attention to me, getting a couple of these rocket squads out. Those are definitely going to be cheaper to produce and way better into those Scorpion tanks, and would do better than this AA battery, which is only going to be able to shoot air units, which you haven't even seen, you haven't scouted. I'm not sure what the point of that AA battery is. Thank you so much, Night Trucker, for the follow, and thank you so much for joining the stream. We're into the Chrono Clash. Scorpion tanks moving their way into their opponent's base. This is, I think, Mystic Elite's last opportunity to try to do it. He does move its way in, but it doesn't matter because Buka is prepared for it. He does already push the forces out and gets a Scorpion tank kill for free. Rocket squads worth their weight in gold, destroying more and more of these Scorpion tanks. Scorpion tanks are truly on their back foot, having to retreat back into the bases. The second one does go down. Buka pressing his advantage, moving his MCV, doing a base rush. He has the economy to do it because his opponent still hasn't moved over here. Buka doing a pretty good job of continuing his scouting while his opponent's scouts have died left and right, not able to keep too much. We do get a barracks over here on the front line, packing up of the MCV. Probably going to move into, if I was him, might as well move into your opponent's natural expansion. Thank you so much for the post, Night Trucker. Keep in mind, I do try to keep my streams just a little bit PC. Not that that is that bad, but just FYI, if you could watch that just a little bit, I'm not going to delete it or anything like that. But I want my kids to be able to watch this. Mind Drop does deploy here, absorbing a couple of shots for the APCs. APCs moving in. Massive amount of rocket squads moving their way in, and I think this is definitely Buka's gaming to lose whatsoever. And he continues the assault. He's here for all of it. Plenty of rocket squads mopping up the forces as Scorpion tank does go down. He doesn't turn it on the front line, but I think it's too little, too late. Another barracks out on the front line, and there it is. Mystic Elite, I believe, is knocked out. Don't stress it, Night Trucker. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not sure if it really even shows up there, but I can cut it out. It's really not that big of a deal. Twitch definitely doesn't care, but I just try to watch it. I appreciate the follow more than that, so like don't worry about that. You're helping me get to my goal, which is 50. As soon as I get 50, I can hopefully try to get subscribers. Actually, getting a pretty even ending of the game, 7 minutes. I usually don't see those games going perfectly to 7. Either way, match 3 is on its way. Match 3 takes place on Hampstead Gardens. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the blue, playing the Steel Talons, trying to make things confusing. This is Steel Talons. His opponent for the moment in the bottom left-hand corner of the map is Benno, playing the pink in the GDI. Hopefully, Benno can give Steel Talons a little bit more of a challenge. I'm trying to remember how Steel Talons' games went. I did him, wow, phrasing. I did one of his games a minute ago. Literally, my last stream did have Steel Talons, but I have the memory of a goldfish with dyslexia, so I've already forgotten the results of that tournament. However, I am doing massive amount of tournaments after massive amount of tournaments. I think I'm the only one covering all of the Chrono Strike. And despite me producing now, what is it, 9, 12, maybe 13 hours already, like there's 13 hours of the Chrono Strike already out, and then plus this, I'm still 7 to 8 games behind, which means I really got to step it up. I got to find time to get all of these games out. I really want to get every single one of them and hopefully get everything set up in time for casting live of the Chrono Strike when we finally get into the finals. Night Trucker, were you not able to sign up for the Chrono Strike, or you just not have the time for it? I guess with you being a trucker, it's probably hard to make some of these tournaments. I know you typically play 2v2, but like, I mean, why not pop in a tournament or two? You know, you're not going to get better 1v1ing unless you try, right? And it's mostly for good fun. Didn't have the time nor the skill. I mean, I wouldn't really sweat it. There's a couple of players here who are pretty close to, I don't want to say brand new, but I have never seen them play. And this is really the best opportunity to run into some of these players like Bike Rush. Like I saw Jefferson, who I don't know whatsoever, play into Bike Rush. And it went about how you might expect. I know that's probably spoilers, but it went about how you might expect. But still, he's got that experience, and you can learn from those matches. So, I mean, why not? And if you have fun, who cares? Maybe do something cheeky. Maybe do something weird. Pitbull's out in full effect. We're going to run into Pitbull versus Pitbulls. It looks like the micro is a little bit better over here, but the Watchtower should make the difference. I say that as soon as the Refinery goes up, putting it down in low power mode, destroying what little bitty advantage Bento has. Steel Talons focusing more and more. His microing is significantly better, it looks like, so far, at least for the moment, than Benno. Benno does still have that defensive advantage, does have a couple of those units. Scouting is quite great, though, for Benno. Benno's able to control a good portion of his opponent's map, deploying a couple of these foxholes inside of Steel Talon's base. I've had a 1v1 tournament, and my first match was Bike Rush. Ouch! That's, man, that's unfortunate. I think the same thing happened to Fox. I think Fox's first game was into Bike Rush as well, which is definitely going to be really unfortunate, if I remember correctly. Pitbull's making their way into the base, or making their way back into the base to destroy these foxholes. Definitely not a bad strategy. Get that scouting out, but I don't expect something cheeky over here by Steel Talon. Watchtower is out for that unit. Pitbulls are going to finally start taking a couple of shots on the Rifleman squads. If the Rifleman squad stay still and you pile up enough Pitbulls, they were able to take it out, but they did quite take their time doing that. Let's see how we're looking on the economy. Actually, both players are tied on economy. It looks like Benno's just a little bit behind on overall, but he was able to catch up there in a minute. Pitbull's out in full effect over here for Steel Talons. Transition into the Air Factory and the Titans. What's our transition going to be for his opponent? Producing a good number of man spam can help pad out your stats if he doesn't have those Wolverines. If he sees those, he will get time to build those up, but he's got to start producing them rather quite quickly, or Steel Talons is going to be in some trouble. Of course, it was easy. I'm sure. Pitbull's making their way over on the right-hand side of the map. That's not where they need to be. The scouting here for Steel Talons is not where it needs to be, but the formation is here, and they are ready to concave. That will do a good number of damage into these 4 tanks, but the problem's going to be dealing with these Rifleman squads and these Rocket squads. Titan's able to get a massive concave off, destroying the tanks just as soon as they make their way out. AP Tower, AP Watchtower is going to pop its way down. That can help lighten things up. Hopefully it's focusing on those Rifleman squads, which it does appear. A couple of scouts over here in the background, couple more Rifleman squads sent into the meat grinder. Benno has the right idea, but the Wolverines are here. The AP ammo is here, and Steel Talons definitely did have the transition, moving a couple of Pitbulls over on the right-hand side of the map, looking into that natural expansion. More and more man spam do get taken out. Titans are going down left and right. That is going to be expensive, losing 3, 4, 5 Titans right there. But Wolverine should be able to help mop up all of his Titans, doing what they can to move their way forward, absorbing some of their shots, giving the Wolverines time to destroy more and more of these missile squads. Another one being sent sort of to its doom. Pitbulls not doing anything on the right-hand side of the map. Easy to say, but the macro and micro are going to be important. Benno doing exactly what he needs to. Those rocket squads going to fare quite well into these units if they can keep up with it, but it looks like Steel Talons might actually be able to get a couple of harvesters down, hopefully be able to get a economic advantage. Shatterers and missile squads moving their way in. It does look like they have their composite armor, so they can absorb a couple more of these shots. Refinery getting focused down. Mammoth Tank moving its way in, hopefully trying to get a bit of a crush and absorb some of this damage, but I think really the answer is going to be getting more and more of these Wolverines out, getting more and more of these Watchtowers out. Pitbull's still not being dealt with, probably able to get a Harvester over in the background, but I wasn't able to see it. Steel Talons sending them into some of the more softer targets. Mammoth Tank going down in the northern section of the map. Both fights going either way. I think Steel Talons might be a little bit ahead, but he can lose more and more units here. Railguns are out for Steel Talons. Mammoth Tanks are out in full effect. And most importantly, the Mammoth Tank did a good job of baiting these rocket squads into the Watchtower, just like they should. Mammoth Tank probably taking on an assault that he doesn't want. Maybe also trying to set up a bait for these rocket squads. Either way, he's taking a bunch of free damage. There it is. He does back his way out. No Watchtower here, but there's a Wolverine that gets his way forward. Mammoth does get the crush off, which means that it is going to be safe. More and more rocket squads moving their way over to the right-hand side of the map, getting a free kill in the Pitbull, but that means that Steel Talons knows that those rocket squads are heading his way. These units are really booking it. Are these units actually here? Or is this a bug? I have no idea what's going on here. Mammoth Tank's getting the crush on the rocket squads. Composite armor is out. This is pretty cost-effective for Benno. If Benno can continue, this assault continue killing Mammoth Tanks just with a couple of rocket squads and microing them, he will do quite well. Another Mammoth Tank does get down, which means the last one is by itself. Steel Talons needs to back that up. He needs to get more and more of these Wolverines. 2 air factories there on the secondary natural expansion. It's developing quite nice for Benno, and it looks like Steel Talons hasn't been able to develop his natural expansion just quite yet. The economy should be favoring Benno, but actually it is not. They're still tied so far, despite Benno developing his secondary natural expansion, but maybe he's maybe he's spending more. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. Like, ghost sprinting unit, that's got to be some sort of bug. Harvester in an unfortunate position is going to get killed by all of these units as it makes its way across the map. That's going to help Benno increase his lead further and further. Plenty of Orcas here going for these Wolverines. That's not what you need to see. That's not what he needs to experience. Losing those Wolverines is going to be extremely costly. Couple of Firehawks are going to make their way in, killing a couple of the Orcas, but it's not going to matter. Selling off of the air factory. Rocket squads are here. Watchtowers out on the front line. Steel Talons really on his back foot. Reinforcements for Benno moving their way in. Benno seeming to be in top form, doing significantly better in this round than I think I've seen him do so far. Not that he played bad in the previous rounds, but he definitely seems a bit more warmed up for this one. There are the reinforcements popping their way down, making this assault continue. It is nice to see reinforcements used on a aggressive front like that. Mammoth Tank with railgun and composite ammo moving its way in, but it's not going to matter because these rocket squads are just absolutely rocking the Mammoth Tank. Pun definitely intended. Orcas making their way across the map, taking a couple of good pot shots here. If I was Steel Talons, I'd be moving those units around, but maybe he's not paid attention. Firehawks moving in, killing a couple of the Orcas, but I think the Orcas were able to get at least one Harvester down. Their efforts seem to be coming in full effect as it looks like Benno has taken the lead on the economic advantage and is 5K ahead overall, and it looks like 5K per second or per minute. That's probably per minute ahead over there. Rocket Squad's picking off another Mammoth Tank. Steel Talons cannot afford losing Mammoth Tank after Mammoth Tank. He's just not able to keep his units in the right spot, while Benno has just been all over the map, has been everywhere that he possibly could. Pitbulls did get their mortar upgrade, but they're having a hard time becoming really effective either way. Firehawks making their way across the map, a couple of them getting destroyed. We do get a combat support airfield in order to save these Firehawks from being destroyed since they no longer have a spot to refuel. We don't typically see GDI producing this number of rocket squads and everything else, but they are doing really, really well into Steel Talons and have been able to keep him on his back foot. Harvester after Harvester does go down. Where are those pit bulls? Where is the AA? You can't just keep letting these orcas destroy Harvester after Harvester, increasing the economic difference between each one of them. Shadowers taking a couple of good shots off at the watchtower. It would be nice to see them move up and focus on that, but it doesn't matter because low power mode is here. Not enough. Maybe put one of these refineries here in low power mode that could help over there. Shadower is getting targeted by the AP ammo, but they're not hitting the weakened one. Last Harvester going down in that natural expansion. Steel Talons has got to be hurting on resources. Marv is out, probably going to get a couple of Zone Troopers inside of them, and hopefully at least one Engineer. There it is. Zone Troopers are in. Marv's going to be hard for him to deal with. Shadowers down, both almost getting taken out there, but Steel Talons really not focusing on much. Mammoth Tank's moving in here for the defense, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. Firehawks doing their bombing run, getting that refinery, keeping the economic advantage in Benno's side. Plenty of Wolverines over here on the right-hand side, but they're going to have a hard time dealing with that Marv. Behemoth is out for Steel Talons. Orca is going for the Mammoth Tank. Pitbull's finally doing something useful, going for the Orcas. Orca Strike hitting this refinery, taking it down to half HP. Probably going to get a Firehawk bombing run here in a moment. Zone Troopers inside of that Behemoth are going to take out a good chunk of these Wolverines, which are going to be good for them. But this Marv is now at half HP. Those Behemoths just doing so much damage. And if they're not careful, Benno might lose his Marv, which he doesn't. Even with that economic advantage, he does not want to lose that. Economic advantage increasing even further in the background, 14K to 8.6K. That's definitely got a sting. Shadowers finally going down for Benno. If Benno's not careful, he could end up on his back foot. He's lost a lot of units. And I think, honestly, just continuing to produce that man spam mixed in with everything else could make a difference. Juggernaut into Behemoth's not even really a competition, but 1-for-1 does go down. Bombing run does miss the Marv. Marv does back its way out into the Recommender Hub and does have an Engineer in it, which means it's going to get some passive repairing. Mammoth Tanks making their way into the old main base of Benno. Is this where he's able to turn it around? Can Steel Talons do it? Real part's going to boil down to, I think, if he can defend his base over here. Auto Harvesting Harvester is going to make its way across the map. Marv making its way over on this right-hand side, challenging these Behemoths. So far, not a real big answer to the to the Mammoth Tank. It does look like the Zone Troopers are going to be able to destroy it and get an upgrade, which means that 2 of those are down. Behemoth corpses are sort of here in the background. It will be nice to see these Juggernauts grouped up a little bit better with the Marv, but the Marv is, I think, trying to back its way up over into here. Engineer is out, maybe trying to grab that EMP control center. Not bad idea into Steel Talons, but I think it's a little bit late in the game for that. New refinery is out. Looks like Benno, being a little bit cheeky, is going to try to grab some of his opponent's resources, maybe on auto harvesting. But the Pitbull should be able to take it out. There's no reason not to chase it, I don't think. There they are. Full set of harvesting resources are going to go down there. Tiberium lost for sure. See if I can work in a hydrate before some action pops off. I say that as soon as Juggernaut into all these Pitbulls. Pitbulls actually should have the advantage here if they're hitting this target, but they're focusing their fire on these Rifleman squads. That's really unfortunate. That could have been a good unit for them to grab. Those Pitbulls able to destroy that, could have destroyed that Juggernaut rather quickly. Firehawks moving their way in, maybe going for the airfield. Thank you so much for the follow. I think that is Desolator Trooper. No, that's... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Not sure what the Firehawks hit. Maybe they backed out in time to save themselves from damage. Not sure really what that was going about. Benno is capitalizing on the Behemoth corpses. Was able to grab those 2 right there. Does look like he's got composite armor for his grenades soldiers. Tiberian troopers moving their way forward. Pretty decent EMP over here on the Behemoths as the Behemoths lose their advantage in number. However, more and more units for Benno are going down. I think this is still anyone's game, but so far it looks to be favoring. This is my bot account. Greetings. Oh, hi, Night Trucker. Thanks for watching again. I'll take everything that I can get. Except for, like, actual bots. Behemoth's into the Marv. Marv could be in a little bit of danger, but if it moves its way forward, does deal enough damage, which it does with those turrets, and those Raiders are going to make Zone Troopers are going to make a big difference once they get close, and indeed they are. Marv does get an upgrade. I think this might be the end for Steel Talons. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to turn this around. He's just being hit from all fronts. Airfield after airfield goes down, and he does get destroyed. Steel Talons casually floating 8K. Was he really? Did I miss that? I think he was getting overwhelmed, to be honest, because Benno was doing a fantastic job of being all over the place, sending troops to each side of the map, keeping Steel Talons on his back foot. But apparently, according to one of my chat, he had 8K floating in the bank. That's got to sting, but maybe he just didn't have the production to keep up with all of that. Round number 2 takes place on Tournament Highlands. That is not my notes whatsoever. It looks like I fudged that a little bit either way, but over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the pink, this is Steel Talon, playing Steel Talons. His opponent for the moment faring quite well in the purple. This is Benno, playing the GDI. I still see a black screen. Hello, chat, by the way. That's really unfortunate, Steel Talons. I don't know why that's going on. Clearly, Night Trucker on neither one of his accounts, because I think he's actually on here on 2 accounts, is not seeing a black screen because he's making comments. It looks like RTB is not seeing a black screen. So what browser are you using, I wonder, Steel Talon? I can only watch the stream if it was uploaded, if it was an uploaded video from your channel page. Huh. Because the only thing I could think that might do that is maybe you have a ad blocker that's messing with things. If you do have an ad blocker, I heavily recommend resetting the cache or just re-downloading the ad blocker overall, because they can cause that issue. Unless there's like a permanent ad stuck on. I really don't know what's going on. But I can't type in the chat from this uploaded video format. I use Firefox. I mean, Firefox should be fine. That's what I use as well, and I haven't seen that. Do you use an ad blocker at all? First Pitbull is out over here for Benno, making his way across the map. It looks like, Benno's actually on the left-hand side. For Steel Talons, Benno is in lockstep, Pitbull per Pitbull, but his forces are grouped a little bit better. Yeah, so I don't think Firefox is the issue unless you're behind on some sort of update. And it doesn't sound like you're using any sort of ad blocker. Yeah, I don't think it's on. I don't think it's on my end. It's got to be on yours, because so far all my viewers haven't had any issues with it so far. Thank you so much for everybody joining the chat. Looks like I got a whole 7 viewers. I will take it. Looks like Sunday is definitely the day to stream. I'll try to keep that in mind going forward. Plenty of Pitbulls out here for, looks like that is Steel Talons. Yes, that is Steel Talons. A couple more Rocket Squads over here producing for that. No, actually, these colors are really hard to see. Pink very much looks like the purple. Steel Talon's a little bit better on the defense than he was last time, but it looks like during the late game is where he began to fall off. Steel Talon's still sticking with Steel Talons, which means we're probably going to see a bit more man spam, and I wouldn't blame Benno for that, because it did fare really well, especially it gave him time to transition into an Air Force and into a couple of other things. It looks like so far he's losing the Pitbull fight, but maybe that is part of his ploy. He's baiting them into these Rocket Squads. Rocket Squads are going to get a couple of really good shots off. One does die to the micro there. Volley does move their way forward. Looks like Steel Talon's redeeming himself just a little bit there, going Pitbull Pitbull for Pitbull. Words are hard. Let's see if I can hydrate before our action happens. It only happens here on your channel. Huh. I mean, I can start doing some research into that and asking around and asking some of the other streamers if they've had this issue before. Because I've never even heard of this. I take it back. I do know that if anyone watches Baldy Asmongold, I do know he says he's got that issue sometimes, I think, if I'm remembering who said that. And if he's a pretty popular streamer, I'm just curious how prevalent that is. Pitbull's making their way over to the other side of the map. Benno getting a couple of really good free shots off on this power plant. Maybe able to get it for free. Mammoth Tank out here for Steel Talons. Not sure it's going to be out there in time in order to save that, but it looks like the pincer move is going to make its way in. Pitbull moving their way down here for Steel Talons. Able to get a couple of these Pitbulls over here on Benno. Benno might actually be on his back foot, sending these units into their doom. More and more rocket squads moving their way into the center of the map, controlling the north and the south. They're going to be really good into these Pitbulls and really good into the Mammoth Tanks. Need to see some sort of transition for Steel Talons. Maybe getting some MRTs with some Rifleman squads might not be a bad idea because they can absorb a little bit more shots and begin to repair your units. I don't know how well MRTs do into all of these rocket squads. Keep drinking, says Night Trucker. I appreciate it. Two Mammoth Tanks in the north, in sort of an isolated position. Steel Talons, I think, needs to group his forces just a little bit better. Benno, finally listening to me, is grouping his forces a little bit better on his end. Behemoth out, actually, this early on. That could make a difference. A couple of reinforcements here, and of course, the reinforcements for Steel Talons are going to be these Wolverines. AP ammo is out. That is going to definitely help. Would be nice to see a couple more Wolverines out and ready to go. Hammerhead moving its way in. Hammerhead going down to the rocket squads. Behemoth now taking a couple of shots off at the Predator tank, but it's not going to do quite as well into the rocket squads. However, that splash damage may make a difference. Railgun ammo here for Steel Talons. Steel Talons doing a good job of keeping up with the upgrades. His transition is significantly better. His units are much faster as Benno focuses a couple of shots on the construction yard, which might spell the doom for his Predator tanks. Adaptive armor out here as well as the forces for Benno are actually beginning to dwindle down. Hammerheads seem to have helped mop up the infantry. By the way, if you join my server, you can promote your live stream in my channel as well. I appreciate that. If you wouldn't mind DMing me your stream, I don't know. I think your bot has mentioned it a couple times, but I keep forgetting to click on it. But if you join, or if you send me the link, I will definitely join. Hammerheads with AP ammo are going to mop up more of this rocket squad, giving a little bit of an advantage. Marv, a Reclamator hub out here on the front line, getting that Marv out, but I'm not sure it's not going to matter as these Railgun Mana Tanks are just going to do so much damage, probably soon to follow by the Behemoth. Steel Talons looking in much better shape than he was previously. Sonic Emitter on the front line, selling off of the Redeemer Engineering Facility, which means that Marv is no longer going to happen. Two Mammoth Tanks going down, one Behemoth going down. Still, things favor Steel Talons, and it looks like Benno agrees with me. That's going to tie our score up 1-1. Give me one moment as we switch to the next round. Done. Appreciate it, Night Stalker. I'll join after the stream. I can always promote my stuff later. Either way, round number 3 takes place on... actually an illegal map, it looks like. This is not Tournament Rift, which is part of the pool. This is Tiberium Rift. Easy mistake, but I'm going to cast it anyways. Over on the left-hand side of the map, this is Steel Talons switching to orange and still playing Steel Talons. His opponent for the moment in the top right or bottom right-hand corner of the map. This is Benno switching factions, but sticking with his purple. This is, I think this is Reaper 17. Hold on, I'm going to cheat here. Ugh. Traveler 59. I always get it wrong. Whatever. Either way. Scouting phase out in full effect in this third round. Looks like I did upgrade my scoreboard, but incorrectly. Hold on. There we go. Steel Talons was able to pull off a point on his opponent. Hopefully that upgrades in real time. How is it looking on y'all's end, other than Steel Talons, who can't actually watch the match? Is it as blurry as it was last time, if you were here last time? Because I did increase my bitrate previously with all the other streams was at 3,000. I moved it to 6,000 with the recommendations of Extreme. I think he was one of the ones suggesting that. Nothing crazy yet for either player on either side. So far, electing with more standard strategy, but neither one of these players are Nod. MRT's out and ready to go. Harvester moving its way to the center of the map, trying to grab some of that early free Tiberium. First Scout moving its way inside of Steel Talon's base. Benno getting a good look. Looks good on my end. Okay. Hopefully it stays that way. I'm still learning a lot of the settings for Twitch. I was just happy to get the alerts going, even though I only have one set of alerts, which are so far the followers until I get those 50 followers. Pitbulls are out here for Steel Talons. Should be pretty decent into Seeker Tanks, but Seeker Tanks, I think, do win 1 for 1 if they do quite well. Seeker Tanks and Gunwalkers moving their way into the center of the map, pushing out this Harvester. Harvester go down to half HP, but that does give a couple of volleys available for it. Seeker Tank does go down. Looks like going to half HP. MRT not in range yet to get a repair. They do get a kill on the Seeker Tank, tying up their advantage, and the repairs for the MRTs are here to help out that Pitbull. I think it's really going to boil down to this slight pixelation when you move the camera fast, but it's an expected reasonable amount. Okay, I appreciate it. And like I said, let me know if you guys notice anything. A couple of disintegrators out here in the front line. That's going to be a good transition. Hopefully we get to see a couple more of those as they move their way in, maybe with the upgrade. I think the upgrade would be a great linchpin. Pitbull does go down. Second Pitbull gets down to around half HP. MRT is now getting targeted, which means it has to focus its repair on itself. Seeker Tank's doing a really good job of keeping up with this MRT. MRT just not quite fast enough, and Pitbull's not going back in time to save it. There is the mine drop. Maybe he was trying to bait his forces in. Seeker Tank going down to half HP. Micro is here for both players. MRT just barely able to make it out of there in time. Wolverine's out here for Steel Talons, maybe learning his lesson. He does need to have an answer for these disintegrators, but if the disintegrators get too close, they will do quite well into those Wolverines. Pitbull left a little bit there to its doom, being destroyed for free. Steel Talons cannot afford mistakes like that, especially in this skirmish. He needs to commit or fully back out. Every time a volley does pop out, he is doing a good job of microing, but it's not quite enough to deal with the numbers of his opponent. And if he's not careful, these upgraded disintegrators are going to run into all of this. Killing that MRT will definitely end that skirmishing. Disintegrators popping their way out, running into the foxhole, taking some unfortunate damage. This will give Steel Talons time to hopefully build a watchtower, so maybe he's paying attention to it. It will be hard to see. Wolverine is going to go down, but not without a fight. Taking down, it looks like 2.5 squads of disintegrators. Wolverine is the answer. 2 disintegrators. Looks like 2 disintegrators into Wolverine. Wolverine ends up with half HP, so the third one might make the difference. Wolverine should be good into Gunwalkers, but not good into this mixing of forces. 2 Seeker Tanks going down, leaving only the Gunwalkers so far. It does look like we get a lightning spike here in the front line as the AP ammo does finish in the background. Wolverine's moving their way forward. They should be quite fine. This should be their fight to win. Steel Talons is looking in better shape than he was previously, but he is losing units left and right. Economy is tied for both players. Gunwalker going down, and still it looks like Bino is sort of sending these into the meat grinder. Guessing we have at least 2 war factories over here for Steel Talons. That's a lot of Wolverines produced already. Shock Troopers moving their way over into the northern section. They do have 2 upgrades out and ready to go. This could spell the doom for this main base. He's got to have a good answer. And these units aren't moving to intercept whatsoever. Blink forward, going for the Harvesters. This could tie things up for Benno. This is all Benno really needs in order to get his advantage. 1 Harvester going down. Does look like Refinery, but due to splash damage, is going to get hurt. Another Harvester going down, followed by a 3rd Harvester going down. This is once again Shock Troopers, just nobody having an answer to them. They're so fast. Refinery getting destroyed. Harvesting has stopped entirely over there as the Shock Troopers continue their assault. No answers so far yet. Command Post getting targeted down. Blink forward, going for the Harvester. Harvester getting at least a small little bit of crush, but it doesn't matter because it does get destroyed. Looks like more and more Harvesters are going to go down left and right. There are a bit more Wolverines here for the defense, and those can do quite well into these units, but Shock Troopers don't care. At this point, if they make trades, they're going to be absolutely on top, as I believe that is a 6th Harvester going down. Benno doing a fantastic job of doing exactly what these Shock Troopers are for. They're very much meant for these shock and awe tactics, and they did exactly what it says on the 10. Construction yard is isolated over here in a bad position. Might be able to see a watchtower. I think that's what is building in the background. Assault beginning over in the northern section. Does look like Wolverines are going to have quite a hard time dealing with these Mechapedes. They are not impossible to destroy, but it looks like the microing is here for Benno, as Wolverine after Wolverine does get destroyed. Steel Talons is losing more and more his advantage as time goes on, losing more and more units, and they're just not able to destroy these Mechapedes. Mechapedes just being a great answer to everything so far that Steel Talons has. Economy is the same so far for both players. It looks like Benno might be just slightly ahead, but he is definitely ahead on the transition. He is definitely ahead on the units so far. Prodigy over here, which means that Mechapedes can blink back. Behemoth's out here on the front line. They are going to get one of the Mechapedes as more and more of the backline. No, actually, they just got, looks like a tail sipping it. 3 Mechapedes still up as Benno continues his assault, as Benno continues his harassment. Wolverines moving their way up, but those Wolverines did not fare well into the Mechapedes. However, they can absorb some of the shots, maybe tipping things in the advantage. Grabbing of the MCV, deploying, and we might actually get that, Benno might actually be able to get that, what's it called? There it is. Steel Talons has thrown in the towel, which means that Benno cannot deploy that War Factory and get out an MCV for himself. Either way, that being a great grab there, completely kicking Steel Talons where the sun doesn't shine. Steel Talons need to step things up because we are moving into game point if he's not careful. Round number 4 takes place on Tournament Undergrounds. The Chrono Strike 2 and Tournament Undergrounds are brought to you by Chronosphere, giving software teams a fighting chance against their own code. Over in the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have Steel Talons switching to Cyan, not Scion, still playing the Steel Talons. His opponent switching over to Zocom, playing the green. This is Benno. Neither player is playing one of the Rush factions, so I think we might actually be able to see Tournament Undergrounds make it to this second set of Tiberium, which we don't often see. Even, Noav into Bike Rush in the previous cast, even Noav tried to do a bit of a rush, and he almost succeeded against Bike Rush, but Bike Rush countered with just a staggering number of Shredder turrets, and he almost lost all of his Harvesters, so it almost worked. And with the distance between each one of these starting bases, you can just do it so quickly. Steel Talon's producing his first Titan and making it make its march across the map with an MRT over here for support. Maybe trying to get a little bit of early harassment. They are going to run into actually no scouts. He's already pre-scouted ahead with these Foxhole, which means that his opponent's not going to see this coming. Hopefully Steel Talons is able to get some advantages because his back is against the wall. He's getting close to getting eliminated. Bike Rush mothering shipping Senna. Yes, Bike Rush did mothership Senna. I did not see that coming. Bike Rush was being cheeky in that entire match set into Senna. I did think it was funny, though. Titan taking its first shot on these rocket harvesters. Harvesting is going to stop entirely. Hopefully, we're going to see a little bit of barracks. There are the barracks. Rocket squads would be nice really into this. We do get one Predator tank. We do get a mine drop there right on top of that, but it looks like the rocket harvesters are going to absorb some of those mines. Body blocking here for the power plant. Not sure how much is going to matter. Hopefully, we get a couple of these rocket squads out when we can. Does look like the answer is going to be Guardian Cannon instead. Those Guardian Cannons can do a good amount to these Titans, and I think they might actually share a similar weapon. Steel Talons is able to get, I think that was a crush on one of the harvesters, and back his way out with this MRT, getting a little bit of repair. Actually, it looks like that's already the GG. I didn't expect to see that coming. Benno throwing in the towel. And something I need to watch too is this is, unless my score is incorrect, and Steel Talons, since he's literally the one that played this, if I'm correct, at this point, you guys tied up. Do y'all not have a fifth game, or did I mess up the scoreboard somewhere? Hopefully, he's still in the chat. Knowing my luck, he's left by the time I have a question to ask. There must be 5 games. Well, if there's 5 games, let me look. Let me check the Discord. Maybe I just missed downloading one of them. Oh, no, you're right. There's definitely 5 games. I don't have the 5th game in that series. Okay, well, they're going to be out of order, and my scoreboard is absolutely messed up, but I'm going to cast it nonetheless. Give me one moment. You'll have to excuse my scoreboard because it is wrong. Here's the 5th match, but out of order. Welcome to Tournament Odyssey. I can fix this in post, though, so I look like less of an idiot. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the green in the GDI, this is Benno. Over in the bottom left-hand corner, switching colors to the yellow, playing the Steel Talons. This, to make it confusing, is Steel Talons. Fortunately, there might be a little bit of spoilers. I think that that last game. No? I guess if Steel Talons wins this, they are technically tied. I guess if Steel Talons wins this, this is going to be the match game since they're already up to 5 games. I'm glad you pointed that out and that I missed that. I felt like I was missing something, and that indeed was it. War Factory is out for Benno over on his side of the map, a little bit behind his opponent, but it doesn't matter. Those small little differences can make a difference. Steel Talons is up on the economic front, but that can even up rather quickly. Benno's still not having his second Harvester just quite yet. That might actually make a difference over time, but it looks like Steel Talons only has the 2 as well. Maybe he was able to get his path a little bit forward, because I think one of the things Master Leaf was saying is when your Harvester comes out for the first time, if you don't go auto-harvesting, you have them select one of these Tiberium crystals sort of in the center, they will harvest a bit faster, and it will help you with a little bit more of an economic advantage, kind of like this one right here. So maybe he's already doing that. Either way, that can make a difference, especially if you're trying to do some rushes. Steel Talons moving into Benno's base, getting a little bit of scouting off, but it looks like Benno is already inside of Steel Talons' base over here with a Foxhole. Probably going to see a Foxhole over on this side as well, unless they're just going to harass. Another Foxhole already prepared for that natural expansion, stopping the MCV sort of in its tracks, but I'm not sure it cares too much because it should have plenty of build range over here. APC out for Benno. Haven't seen that too much this early on, but they are going to see it. Probably going to get a couple of rocket squads inside of them, maybe 4 of them up and ready to go, but I think they will have a harder time dealing with the pit bulls unless the microing is here for Benno. I think that's really going to determine the difference over here. Low power mode for the barracks. More and more rocket squads are being produced and going inside of these APCs. What's left of the Rifleman squad are almost all destroyed except for that last one. They are focusing on these pillboxes instead, which I'm not sure matters too much. You know what I can do for the scoreboard? Technically, everyone's tied right now, so I'm gonna do that. Little cheat. There we go. Back to the game. Natural expansion still not developed upon by Benno just quite yet. Steel Talons looking in much better shape on his natural expansion. Steel Talons 1k ahead on his opponent. Harvester getting a little bit of a crush there, sort of for free. Really unfortunate for those Rifleman squads. Watchtower popping its way down. Does look like the power plant's already finally at half HP. Titan not deciding to go for that, but I guess it will have a hard time killing that. Missing something over here on the right-hand side as a whole bunch of these units do get taken down. Maybe those were some APCs over there by Steel Talons. Either way, the Rocket Squad APCs did seem to make a difference. He's not using them in aggression like I would expect him to. He's not using them to attack, but maybe he's waiting on pit bulls. I'm not sure what his plan is. He will have a hard time dealing with the Titans of Steel Talons because they're out in numbers now, and probably a couple more coming for the reinforcement. It looks like that is 3 out and ready to go. And those will do quite well into the APCs for sure, unless those rocket squads are able to pop their way out in time. Pitbull's going to Rifleman squads are going to spot the scouts over here by Benno. Benno moving in, taking a couple of free pot shots off of the Harvester, but he has plenty of time to respond that and probably has a Titan out and ready to go. 2 of those guys are not going to be that much of a threat, so it's not going to be particularly difficult to deal with. Predator Take finally trying to wipe out this Foxhole, and they do indeed get it. It looks like the assault over on the left-hand side did go in their favor. I don't think I saw any Harvester corpses going down. It looks like it's still 5 Harvesters for that old main base. Titans making their way over to the center of the map, making their way across into their opponent's base. This is exactly what I want to see. Barracks producing all of these rocket squads, which the Titans are going to have such a hard time dealing with. Titans are actually in danger if they're not careful. These rocket squads, they very much so want this fight, and I don't think the Titans want it whatsoever. However, they're not focusing fire whatsoever. They do move forward, and they do make their march forward, and they can get crushes on these rocket squads, which are just going to sit there and take it. I don't care what my orders are. I'm not going to let a Titan walk right over me just like that. Titans are still continuing their assault, destroying Predator tanks, crushing rocket squads, doing everything they can, and now hitting the MCV. MCV down to half HP. It looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble. Benno not having an answer to this just quite yet. Orcas are out. Those are definitely going to do quite well into the Titans, but there's still so many Titans. Titans getting crushes left and right. AP ammo, Wolverines, and I think Benno truly is in trouble. Orcas are ignoring them, and they should not be. They should be taking out these Titans as quickly as they can. They do turn around, focusing on one of the Titans. One Titan does go down, followed by a second Titan. Steel Talons might be in trouble. Third Titan goes down. Fourth Titan goes down. Steel Talons cannot keep hold of his Titans, and it doesn't look like these Wolverines have been doing too much. They are going for the Guardian Cannon, which is definitely going to be their threat. More and more Titans making their way in, finishing off that Guardian. Now Titan has free range on these Harvesters, and even if they can't destroy the Harvester, at the very least, they can stop it from backing up. Titan getting a good crush. Orcas moving their way in. We are getting an outpost making their way over to that secondary natural expansion. Titans not really having an answer to just quite yet, other than the Orcas. This is a lot of Orcas. I think this is going to be Benno's game to lose. Mammoth Tank destroying the outpost before it can really do anything. Mammoth Tank at half HP. Orcas not paying attention to it and backing off, maybe running out of ammo. Another Harvester going down. I think this is very much so Steel Talon's game to lose. He has every opportunity to come out on top. He's already developed his natural expansion. T3 out for Benno. Benno has time to turn around. Depth armor out here for Steel Talon. Steel Talon's focusing on another Harvester, and the economic lead is definitely leaning in his favor. Looks like there's a 3K lead at least, and almost a 10K overall. Either way, that is GG. That makes a little bit more sense. It does look like Steel Talons was able to pull one off over in Benno. Benno is faring quite well, but Steel Talons is able to turn it around even with me mismatching the games. Either way, that 2-2 did go into the favor of Steel Talons. Steel Talons will progress further into the tournament. I'm not even sure if that was in loser's bracket or not. Clearly, my notes are wrong and all over the place. Either way, thank you for joining me for that match. We're going to move on to match number 4. Yep, I can count. 4. Match number 4, round 1, takes place on Tournament Highlands. Over here in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the orange in the GDI, this is Carrot. I'm sorry, Wet Carrot 101, apparently. His opponent for the moment on the left-hand side of the map, playing the blue in the Marked of Kane. Give it up for Assassin Spy. I feel bad when I watch these replays. I mean, that's going to happen. It's because you're too close to it. It's like, I mean, when I cast and I have to listen to my voice for a pretty long time, and I hate the sound of my voice, but people seem to, people are watching me, so it can't be that bad. But I definitely still hate the sound of my voice. And the same thing when you're an artist, like, and you're doing some sort of art, right? Like, the Mona Lisa is a good example. At least it's memed on a bunch where you like the art. Low mid performance for me was there. Yeah, I mean, you could have played better, but most importantly, you won, right? And I think you can learn something from every match. So many Awakened squads over here by Assassin Spy, marching the way across the map. Watchtower is out, wasting too many EMPs, I think, on that. Pitbulls are out over here. If they can get the stun, I think they can get a kill on it. Watchtower popping its way out. I think that Assassin Spy wasted too many EMPs on that. Scouts 4. Looks like Carrot moving their way over into the left-hand side of the map, putting down a foxhole in a pretty ideal spot, I'd like to say. Selling off of the Watchtowers. The Awakened squads make their way around the side. I don't know how long it takes for their EMP to come up. Either way, they have an opportunity to be quite annoying, and they are stopping Carrot from expanding over here. Assassin Spy into Carrot. I think this is both of these players' first game. Maybe this is an entire bracket I haven't seen so far. EMP on top of the Harvester. EMP on top of 3 structures. Assassin Spy being an absolute pest, hitting structure after structure. That's not going to delay him too much, but that can make a difference, and that will add up over time. Rifleman squad starting to chase down the Awakened squad. Awakened squad is finally turning around. They should have a couple of EMPs up. Watchtower out on the front line, hopefully able to mop up a couple of these if they don't have an EMP out and ready to go. Power plant is getting targeted. Pretty traditional there for Wet Carrot. What a name, by the way, Wet Carrot. Looks like Assassin Spy has developed his natural expansion a little bit better, while Carrot has not elected to do that so far. Assassin Spy is benefiting from it as well. Looks like he's got a 600 lead in the credits. Awakened squad's for some reason going for the Tiberium Spike. They're really not going to be able to do too much to that really at all. So I don't know what their plan is, but maybe they're just trying to waste some time or force a response. We do have an early command post here for Carrots. I wonder if he's going to get a couple of airfields out and ready to go. Nobody's grabbed blue Tiberium just quite yet. Power plant down to half HP, having to deal with those pest. 3 Raider buggies and 1 attack bike are not going to be able to do too much other than a bit of scouting. Would be nice to see Assassin Spy regrouping these forces, using these 2 war factories to get a couple more attack bikes out and ready to go, because I think his opponent's pretty exposed. He's only got a couple of APCs. He is doing a bit of scouting that is Assassin Spy into his opponent's base, and has noticed that he is probably quite far behind on the economy. No, actually, Carrot has managed to keep up with him. They're both at 7.8k, 7.9k, so he did make that climb back, and I'm curious how he was able to get that. Foxhole finally going down inside of his opponent's base. EMP on the APCs. Awakened Squad's actually doing a good job taking down these APCs between their EMPs and everything else. I think they're out of EMPs, so they should be taken out here. Either way, I think those units really were just there to draw some attention. Would be nice to see him following this up with the rocket squads. This would be a perfect time with attack bikes or something like that making their way into their base, since those APCs were sent to the north. Sure, he got a kill on one of those units with some throwaway units, but you need to capitalize on every little bitty mistake, every little advantage you can put your hands on. Not enough attack bikes in here that I would like to see, especially in the numbers. AP ammo here for the APCs. APCs running directly into these attack bikes, which is what they want, as 2 attack bikes go down, leaving only 3 remaining. A couple of more in the background, but APCs are going to continue taking a couple shots. They're now wasting their ammo on these Raider buggies. Whole bunch of rifleman squads moving their way forward. Those would deal more damage to those, but the Raider buggies are doing exactly what they need to, which is absorbing a lot of those shots. APC after APC getting taken down. Attack bikes finally getting targeted, but there's still plenty here to be a threat. For some reason, Assassin Spy just sort of leaving his units here, maybe trying to get these rockets, these attack bikes into a better spot, but it doesn't matter because that watchtower is here. Everywhere he goes, it looks like Carrot has a response to it. Carrot producing a couple of rocket squads here for the defense. Not sure that's really going to help him, though, because he does have these Predator tanks, which are going to fare much better into those units. Guardian Cannon out on the front line, maybe a little overzealous with that. More and more attack bikes do join the fray, as Assassin Spy has a 2k lead, and it looks like 3 war factories. He's going for pure production and running on... Actually, no, he's still got 10k in the bank, it looks like. Well, what Carrot is spending everything he possibly can as quickly as he can. Armory out on the front line. Wet Carrot moving into the center of the map, which means he's going to be completely exposed for this assault as Assassin Spy moves his way into that natural expansion. These Harvesters are exposed. These Harvesters are in danger. One does go down with a full set of Tiberium. More and more Harvesters getting targeted down. No response here from Wet Carrot. Wet Carrot doing exactly what it is that he is playing, definitely like a Wet Carrot, because he's lost all of these Harvesters almost for free. 3rd Harvester going down, probably followed by a 4th Harvester. Might as well continue the assault. Might as well continue their advantage. The Harvester down to half HP. 4th Harvester going down. 5th one getting targeted. Definitely continue this assault. Destroying 5 Harvesters, I think, might be worth it. There it is. And most of them were full. That does eliminate all of the attack bikes, at least in that wave, but with 3 war factories out and ready to go, Assassin Spy has the time to do it. A couple of selling off of resources, or of infrastructure, to give himself a little more resources. Predator tanks are going to be hard to deal with. He does have Scorpion tanks. He does have a couple other attack bikes. 1 Predator tank getting caught in an unfortunate position. Carrot maybe not concave in the way he should, but the same thing can be said for Assassin Spy. Assassin Spy hasn't grouped his forces like he needs to. Rifleman squads here to deal with the rocket squads. Rocket squads could make the difference if they stay alive, but Rifleman squads are in here in full effect, destroying rocket squad after rocket squad. I think this might favor Carrot. Carrot doing a much better job of focus firing and having a better concave than his opponent. Plenty of rocket squads over on the left-hand side. It looks like we're running pretty low on these Rifleman squads. They could make the difference. This is still anyone's fight, but I think the concave is significantly better there for Wet Carrot. However, Wet Carrot doesn't have an answer to these rocket squads. Hopefully he can get some hammerheads or something in here to mop up these units. Wet Carrot went on the aggression, and now he is having to backpedal. Fnatic, Shadow Team's actually out this late in the game. Not sure what they're going to be able to do. I guess they could get the barracks or a couple other units here and there, but there's only so much even 2 Shadow Teams are going to be able to go for. Maybe a power plant, maybe an armory. It looks like they're going to go for the barrack instead. They're going to pop it and then run away. More and more Predator tanks for Carrot are going to go down left and right. Defender's advantage is here, but I think it might be too little too late. I think he lost too many units to these rocket squads because Assassin Spy is on his front doorstep. Shadow Teams kind of wreck GDI infantry, do they? Okay, maybe that's one of the reasons they're here for. Yeah, they did kill those Rifleman squads rather quickly. Rocket Squad still no answer to them. There's a really good EMP there, hitting not only the Predator tanks, but also hitting all of the War Factories, giving the Rocket Squads even more time to focus on these Predator tanks. Predator tank stops right before the Rocket Squads, not destroying it, but I think that did buy them just enough time. You got to move these units forward. You're already there. You're not going to get away. You might as well try and go for the crush, which can turn that fight around. Only one Shadow Team is here. Finally, we get to see a couple of watchtowers out on the front line here for the defense. Rifleman squads moving their way in. Assassin Spy finally, his assault is almost all but destroyed. The only thing that's left so far is the Shadow Team. Shadow Team's probably going to go take a pot shot at something. Going to go for the Armory, taking it down to half HP. Might as well. No reason not to. Assassin Spy still has a good, healthy amount of production. He's got the Enlightens, which are going to be really, really good into all of those tanks if they continue to be produced by Carrot. Carrot doing the exact same thing that he was before. He hasn't transitioned really into anything else so far. Scorpion tanks in a nice formation, and most importantly, Assassin Spy has been able to control the center of the map, which is going to give him a much-needed infusion of resources. Not that, I take it back, and not that he actually needs it, because he's 13k to 7.3k for Carrot, as in Carrot has 7.3, now moving to 7.6k. Losing those 5 harvesters is definitely going to sting, and it looks like Wet Carrot's about 30k behind in total resources gathered. Assassin Spy absolutely dominating the center of the map, not contested whatsoever, taking his time, no reason not to. This is a tournament, might as well play your cards safe, which he is doing. He has control of the center of the map, he has infrastructure over here, and he's got avatars building in the background. Hopefully we're going to get some man spam with those avatars to mix them, because that would do rather well into a lot of these units, because we haven't seen, looks like we're not even going to get any Wolverines, because this is standard GDI. So I'm not sure what the answer to the Awakened squads and to the man spam would be, really. Maybe a couple of snipers might make a difference, and I feel like getting those snipers out now, even if you don't know that man spam is coming, not that it is right now, would be pretty decent into, like, the Enlighten or everything like that, which I do think he knows the Enlighten is there. Are there. Words are hard. Second refinery is out for Assassin Spy. Assassin Spy has so many harvesters in here, increasing his economic lead even further. It does look like Carrot was able to catch up in resources per minute. He is at 11k. Both players having pretty close to the same amount inside of their total bank account, having about 1.6k. So at least they're even on that. So far, the greatest disparity is really just the total amount of resources gathered and the fact that Assassin Spy has the center of the map, and Wet Carrot still has no real response to that. We do have a commando out and ready to go that could help with things, but I still would like to see a couple of snipers, or at the very least send some of these rifleman squads in as scouts so you can see what your opponent has transition. Same thing could be said for Nod, but Assassin Spy is maybe just happy to absorb the center. He's actually absorbed about half of this Tiberium. That's going to have a big advantage for him. But Carrot's still not transitioning into T3 or anything just quite yet. Maybe just happy with his ammo, maybe just happy with his rifleman squads. Shadow teams do move their way in, or maybe they've been there the entire time. I'm not sure. They did see the majority of the forces there for Wet Carrot. Wet Carrot does not want this fight whatsoever. He is going to lose this quickly if he moves his way in, especially with no snipers, especially with no hammerheads. Hammerheads, like, you've already got the AP ammo. You might as well get the hammerheads out and ready to go. Hammerheads would be good into almost everything, I think, here. I don't think the Tiberium troopers can shoot up either. Looks like there's not really an answer to the Air Force. Wet Carrot maybe not as practiced for this tournament. He's definitely a name I haven't seen. I've seen Assassin Spy a couple of times. I know he's a bit of an older player. In fact, I think he was one of my first cast. I think it might have been Assassin Spy versus Cabal, who I don't think plays anymore, and that might have been on Tiberian Wars. Assassin Spy, confident in his numbers, going to march his way across the map, which could spell the doom for Wet Carrot. Wet Carrot not really responding, not setting up his units in a formation, not setting up a concave. He does have a railgun upgrade, which could definitely help. Leaving a Harvester out to its doom is going to get destroyed, and I think he might be destroyed here. He's producing a couple of Juggernauts, but I think it's too little too late. There's going to be too many avatars to deal with it. Massive amount of EMP hitting not only a whole bunch of the frontline deals, but also hitting the War Factory, hitting the Watchtower, and hitting the barracks. Majority of that infrastructure going down as more and more EMPs come out. There are 3 Juggernauts out on the front line, but it's too little, too late. Awakened squads worth their weight in gold. Magnetic Mine Drop popping its way over here, which means that Juggernaut cannot move. Juggernaut is taken down as the War Factory goes down soon to follow. Oh my god, bro is still streaming. Yes, yes I am. 2 Juggernauts going down as this is Assassin Spy's game to lose. He has plenty of Venoms. He has plenty of deals. He has to make quite the blunder. I don't know if there's any way Wet Carrot can do anything for this. War Factory, there's the fire cell. Looks like Wet Carrot has finally decided to throw in the towel. Just not able to keep up with Assassin Spy. He's definitely going to have to step up his game into a player like Assassin Spy. Assassin Spy seems much more practiced than Carrot. We'll get to see. He still has plenty of chances to make a reverse sweep, but I think it's going to be uphill into Assassin Spy. Match 4, round 2 takes place on the actual legal map, Tournament Rift. Over on the left-hand side of the map, playing the blue, this is Assassin Spy. Playing the Mark of Kane, that is. Over on the right-hand side of the map, this is Wet Carrot in the orange, playing GDI. I think this is... not that Tournament Highlands isn't more of a standard map. Actually, we're already getting a couple of shadow teams out over here by Assassin Spy. He did find great effect to that, and maybe he's confident in his ability into a player like Wet Carrot. So he's already produced these shadow teams out and ready to go. Looks like only 2 so far. So far. Tiberium Spike has been grabbed by both players. Shadow Teeps landing their way down, looking for an engineer to snack on, getting the garrison troops there and destroying the rifleman squad. Poor engineer literally didn't even see it coming. And at the very least, though, that does mean that Wet Carrot knows that there are shadow teams out on the map. He needs to get some like APCs or something like that. I don't remember if APCs can shoot up when they're in the air, but you could get some APCs and some pit bulls out ready to go, which could make a difference. Because even though that these Awakened squads can pop you down with an EMP, they're not going to be able to deal enough damage to an APC to knock it out. He knows that the shadow teams are on the horizon. He is producing an APC that's going to be decent for him. Would be nice maybe if we get a couple of rifleman squads in it, but the shadow teams are killing rifleman squads left and right. Scouts have made their way across the map over to Assassin Spy. Seeing that, of course, he's not up to anything sneaky like he was before a moment ago with those shadow teams. Construction Yard making its way quite ahead of Carrot. Looks like Carrot's MCV is still back inside of his old main base. I think Carrot's really not as practiced for this. This power plant's days are numbered. There it is, right on cue, destroyed. And the rifleman squad just get eviscerated. Like, you couldn't even see their animation when they're dying because of the smoke. They were killed so quickly. Assassin Spy, despite his rush, has been able to keep, looks like a little bit of an economic lead. Shadow teams are still up. EMP on the refinery. Unfortunately, not able to hit it. Actually, that's a significantly better EMP there, delaying his opponent even further. Assassin Spy, happy to be cheeky, happy to keep his opponent on his back foot, which of course he is doing. The unfortunate thing, I think, is that the construction yard has not made its way over to the south, but the refinery is not here yet for Assassin Spy. I think that is going to be it right there. Probably going to see it here in a moment, and then I'm assuming the MCV is going to pack up and move. No, actually not a refinery. Oh, actually, he didn't have a secondary refinery this entire time, and that is his 5th harvester. And somehow Carrot is still behind. I don't understand. Another power plant pops its way out. Another power plant does go down. Command post out on the front line. Shadow teams just not being dealt with. Finally, we get a pitbull to reveal these shadow teams, which means the shadow teams can no longer fly into the sky without in danger. Oh my. And I say that right as soon as they do it and they get taken out by the pitbull. That's probably the best case scenario there for Carrot. But at least one group of those shadow teams are still alive. They've already made up their cost, I believe, by taking out, I think, 3 of those power plants. Still, Carrot has not moved into his natural expansion, and now he's 1k behind on the income per minute. Shadow team's able to get, looks like the barracks. I didn't realize just one shadow team was enough to destroy those barracks. Still, they have not been dealt with. I'm not sure where that pitbull is. Does look like the watchtower can reveal them, but there was nothing there to shoot up. Pitbull finally chasing them down, making a guesstimation where they might be, but they're going to skirt their way around. Assassin Spy has been happy to sit inside of his base, being a pest with these shadow teams, and why not? Like I said, he's been able to get so many games. Being able to get this power plant would be pretty good since it is an upgraded one, but there it is. It is taken out. It is destroyed. Oh, actually, there's 2 shadow teams left. I thought there was only 1 set. Doesn't matter. APCs are finally going to mop them up, as both squads of shadow teams do finally get taken down. But I think that is the 4th or the 5th power plants. Don't get to see that too often. Carrot definitely not ready for it. Natural expansion for Assassin Spy is developing really quite nicely. Looks like he's getting close to a 3K lead per minute. Almost a 10K lead. Actually, exactly a 10K lead so far for resources gathered. What Carrot really needs to step it up. He did finally make his way over to the natural expansion. No refinery just quite yet. Building something in the background maybe. Hopefully a power plant since he keeps losing those left and right. I really want to see Assassin Spy keep up the pressure, because you can't leave GDI alone for too long. Maybe get another War Factory out and start producing those units. It looks like Operations Center is going to be the end of the game. Secondary War Factory is here, probably producing the Scorpion there for the defense, maybe expecting something, but we might also see a bit of flame tanks. I think you could definitely get away with a couple of flame tanks into Carrot. Carrot's not seeming quite as alert as some of the other players, especially with knowing who Assassin Spy normally likes to fight. Although I don't think he plays just quite as much. Man Spam is going to be the name of the game. Not sure how much that's going to help. Maybe some rocket squads into all of these Scorpion tanks would be nice, but I think Assassin Spy made a bit of a mistake here. I think he really wants to do bike and buggy, so I'm surprised that he is not. Because that would allow you to move across the map really quickly and capitalize on the slow gains and the slower forces of your opponent. But I guess he can slow roll his way in with these Scorpion tanks, but not if his opponent starts producing a good chunk of these rifleman squads, or not rifleman squads, rocket squads, but he has still not done it. So far, no real transition over here by Carrot. Transitions have been a little bit better on Assassin Spy. If not, he's been a little bit slower than a few of the other players. T3 is out. Tech Lab is out for Assassin Spy. A nicer thing about some of these slower matches is I can hydrate a little bit more. Pillbox going down in the north. No one grabbing Blue Tiberium just quite yet. It looks like Assassin Spy did try. No, actually, he grabbed almost a full load of it, but the Pitbull is going to push it out. Scorpion Tank should be here for the defense. 2 Scorpion Tanks should be plenty enough for it, especially with that Dozer upgrade. Does look like Carrot's finally on the move with a good chunk of Rifleman Squad. Maybe he's expecting more EMPs. Not sure. Wagon Squad is going to get a free kill, though, on one of those units. Scorpion tanks are going to make their way into a bit of trouble, but I think Assassin Spy is just trying to do that. Actually, he's trying to distract the forces because the Scorpion tanks are in the north. However, Defender's Advantage is in full effect over here, but I think he can win that. Still no rocket squads over here by Assassin Spy. Good one click there, destroying the refinery and almost taking out the Harvester. Redeemer in the background this early into the game, or maybe it just seems this early in the game with the way his opponent is playing. He knows that the Redeemer's out on the front field, and he's going to be in some trouble, especially with the economic disadvantage there. Looks like Assassin Spy has almost double the economy, and he's definitely producing like it as avatars are on the front line. At this point, he can just march his way into his opponent's base, and not much is going to happen here for or with Carrot. Carrot's still not transitioned. Carrot's still not doing any scouting. I'm not sure if he's not practiced or if he's new. Not trying to bash on him too much, but these are things that he could be doing. Assassin Spy grabbing Blue Tiberium in the center, taking full advantage of that map control. Predator Tank's not in concave. Predator Tank's not in formation, so they're going to get focused down by the Scorpion Tank. Scorpion Tank's whittling down the forces of their opponent. Although this is, even if they lose this, they still, I think, come out on head. He can afford to take trades. That is Assassin Spy. Assassin Spy has such an economic advantage, so there's no reason not to throw numbers against the wall. Would be nice to already see these these units march their way across the map because they could be doing so much in attacking. Right there on cue, they are finally making their way over. Still no rocket squads. Like, you know, he has all of these Scorpion tanks. Why not produce rocket squads? We are finally getting some. It looks like there's 4 in the mix, but I think it's too little too late. it will help here in the north. Scorpion Tank's probably going to back their way out, maybe over to that contested natural expansion, and maybe try to draw out these forces. If Carrot engages too heavily in this, he's going to lose to the March of the Chicken Legs over here in the southern section. Does look like he's going to overcommit, even sending a couple of reinforcements over here, playing right into Assassin Spy's plan, I think. Sure, his natural expansion might be in danger, but he's got the resources to repair it. He's got the resources to build up another defense and march his way all the way back over here and prepare for all of this. There is the composite armor there for all the infantry squads as they make their way across the map, starting to destroy the Shredder turrets, but I think this is definitely Assassin Spy's game to lose as he moves to the majority of his main force, his upgraded force over there. Wet Carrot does notice it, but he does notice it too little, too late. This, once again, is Assassin Spy's game to lose. Refinery does get focused, probably not the target you want to go for. More Shredder turrets out on the front line. EMP hitting 2 of the Predator tanks, and they are going to get destroyed. They are going to march their way down and get taken out over here by Assassin Spy. Assassin Spy winning both fronts, and he has the resources to do so. Redeemer not even having a couple of engineers in it, just having the rocket squads out. Construction Yard getting targeted down, and I think that is the last lifeline. I think we even have a couple of Spectres over here. Assassin Spy doing a significantly better job of transitioning, a significantly better job of advancing in this. And so far, this is kind of turning out to be a bit of a free win for him. At the very least, it should be practice. More and more units sent into the meat grinder at this point. Wet Carrot either needs to throw in the GG. There it is. He's thrown in the towel. He does not have the forces to keep up with Assassin Spy, and Assassin Spy just had such a massive economic lead in resources per minute and resources total gathered. Give me one moment as match number 3 is on the way. Round 3. Words are hard. Round number 3, and I forgot his name already. Wet Carrot's last chance takes place on Atacama Road. Over in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing the orange in the GDI, this is Wet Carrot. His opponent for the moment is still Assassin Spy. Over in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, still playing blue, playing the Mark of Kane. Hopefully we get to see an attempt at a reverse sweep for Carrot. Maybe Carrot's just warming up. Maybe he'll do better on this map. Either way, only time will tell to see how well he fares into Assassin Spy. I am happy to see more games from Assassin Spy. I feel like he stopped playing quite some time, unless he's been playing on a bunch of aliases. So it's nice to see him back in the game. And I think he came back right about the same time that I started casting too, which is good news for me game-wise. Rifleman squad's dying to the Awakened over on the left, and I think over on the right as well, which means Wet Carrot's not going to have any scouts to move their way in to Assassin Spy's base, which means that Assassin Spy has time to build up and do something cheeky. Looks like that refinery is in production over here for that MCV. Maybe he's ahead? Nope, Wet Carrot is not ahead. That looks like another power plant. Yeah, so Assassin Spy is a little bit faster on the uptake when it comes to building his infrastructure. Wet Carrot having almost 3K in the bank this early on. Watchtower out. Watchtower getting EMP'd. MCV getting EMP'd along with the War Factory. Awakened squads just absolute pest with those EMPs, delaying the construction yards left and right. Rifleman squads moving their way in and are going to get destroyed, which means probably going to get another EMP here any moment. Don't know. Looks like Assassin Spy is going for more of an economic play instead of a rush, at least for the current moment, because he's already moved over to his natural expansion. And why not? It doesn't look like his opponent's really going to do that. Harvester chasing down the Awakened squad, definitely not the best idea. I don't think you want to do that at all. They do garrison themselves, which means that this Harvester is just sort of sitting here doing absolutely nothing. It would serve much better inside the Tiberium field, getting those resources to get some more units out, but it's sort of just sitting there on the side. Wet Carrot really does want to get EMP'd. He definitely does. He keeps walking into it over and over, unfortunately for him. But he might be a player that's not used to the competitive scene, so, you know, I'm just happy we're getting all these names that I haven't seen before. Like Benno, I've been happy to see Benno's games so far because I'm not familiar with him. And he doesn't seem like a bad player. And then I've seen Jefferson, who I have no clue who that is. And there's probably been a couple of more, I guess including Wet Carrot. I don't know Wet Carrot at all. So I don't know how he's supposed to take it back. Actually, no, I take it back. I don't know Panic either. Apparently Panic is an old pro, so it's nice to see him come back for the Chrono Strike. I think he's been doing quite well, but you can definitely tell that he is a bit rusty. Wet Carrot 2K behind, finally moving over to the wrong natural expansion. I don't think he knows where to go. It doesn't look like he knows where to go, unfortunately. Pitbull making its way inside of his opponent's base, which means he's going to see that this natural expansion is developed upon rather quite nicely. 2 Pitbulls so far uncontested for the most part, but there are 3 bikes here, finally, to at least mop up one of those Pitbulls. Second Pitbull does go down, EMP wasted, but I guess you could argue that it was secured instead. Wet Carrot going for the secondary natural expansion of Assassin Spy, which normally isn't the worst idea, but I think in his case, he needed to go for his traditional expansion. He needs to wait for Assassin Spy to make some sort of mistake and constantly scout him to see what the transitions are, constantly scout him in order to see what's going on. You can't really afford to not scout a player like Assassin Spy. Plenty of tech bikes out here, already formationed, already set up, which means they're probably going to spell the doom here for Wet Carrot. Wet Carrot hasn't really concaved. His force haven't really set them up in any sort of formation whatsoever. Assassin Spy happy to take a couple more pot shots at that Tiberium Spike, already down to half HP. Blue Tiberium finally developing quite nicely in the center of the map. There should be enough there for at least 1 harvester load. Natural expansion might finally get a deal. Assassin Spy moving in on the natural expansion, seeing that his opponent hasn't expanded. Once again, not knowing maybe that he's down here. This could help him a little bit, maybe subverting some of his expectations, whether he means to or not. Attack bikes moving their way in. Plenty numbers here to destroy one of the Harvester. Harvester going down, increasing the economic lead of Assassin Spy. Assassin Spy getting close once again to doubling the resources per minute of Wet Carrot. Bikes moving down the center of the map. It doesn't look like APCs and tanks are really able to keep up with all of these fast-moving units. You need to scout, and you need to see what's coming his way. And still really no scouting here for Wet Carrot. Wet Carrot is catching up a little bit in the economy, but not in total resources gathered. Attack bikes moving their way in. One, at least noticing the 4 tanks there. So Assassin Spy decides to group up his forces. Couple of Raider buggies are here to absorb some of the damage as so many attack bikes are here. There's the 1 click. I think this spells the doom for Wet Carrot. I'm not sure he's going to be able to come back from this whatsoever. He doesn't have the forces. He doesn't have really anything, and nothing is grouped as his only advantage, which were those tanks, does get taken down, and now so do the Harvesters. Assassin Spy is absolutely uncontested now, going for the refinery, the laser fence finally getting taken down. APCs moving their way in. All these Predator tanks moving their way in, but it's too little too late as they waste their shots on these units. Construction are getting focused down. Construction are getting close to half HP. Probably going to get half here in a minute. There's just so many bikes here. Redeemer Engineering Facility out on the front line. Not sure how it made its way over here, but that's going to be absolutely irritating to deal with. I have no idea how it made its way over here whatsoever. Redeemer is halfway up. Assassin Spy maybe doing a little bit of BMing over here, putting this facility out on his opponent's base. There's the laser fence for the Redeemer Engineering Facility. They need to be focusing it down because it's so close to popping its way up, and it's too little too late as the Obelisk of Light should tip the scales and give the Redeemer time to pop its way out. Redeemer about to make its way out, about to be in a world of hurt for his opponents. It is finally taking more damage. Focus Fire is finally here. Body block for the power plant, giving that Redeemer time to get out, selling off, saving him 200 gold, but it doesn't matter because Redeemer is out. Redeemer is ready, and his opponent is not. Wet Carrot is definitely not ready for this Redeemer or for dealing any of that. Finally getting Fanatics out and getting a couple of these tank kills. MCV now in danger. You might as well throw in the towel, Wet Carrot, because I don't think there's anything you can do to turn this around. There's Redeemer out on your front doorstep. You're about to lose your MCV. Your barracks is gone, and you're so far behind on resources. Redeemer even taking the time to load up with a Tiberium Trooper and an Awakened Squad. Looks like that's the same turret for the Flame Turret, but maybe we'll actually see the units. There it is. He does sell off the MCV, at least saving himself some money, but these tanks are not going to cut it. Does do the final fire cell over in the background, giving the game to Assassin Spy. Assassin Spy going 3-0, moving into the next set of the brackets. Better luck next time to Wet Carrot. I don't think Wet Carrot's knocked out just quite yet. Hopefully he continues to play in the tournament, and maybe we get to see a little more what Wet Carrot can do, but it looks like Assassin Spy was just a little bit too much for him to deal with. Match number 5 takes place on Tiki Turmoil. Over in the top right-hand side of the map, playing the green in the Zocom, give it up for Buka. His opponent from the moment in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing the blue in the black hand. This is Tipsy. Match 5 is sponsored by Juggernaut Gym. Fire support with gains. I don't think I know how this game is going to go. I think Tipsy is the favored to win for this one, but sometimes Tipsy can be a little bit inconsistent, if I remember correctly. I think Tipsy is advanced, if I remember correctly. But Buka's really not a bad player. I've seen him pull some really consistent games out of his hat. It might boil down to, you know, how rusty Tipsy is and how practiced Buka is. I think that's going to be a big factor of this. But I think it's going to shape up to be quite a nice game. Buka moving into the center of the map, wanting to get that elevated control, not a bad idea. Tipsy already moving over to his natural expansion. His opponent doing the same, just sort of in lockstep. So it looks like Buka's doing pretty good keeping up with Tipsy, and he's already got these plenty of foxholes all over the map. Which is going to be really, really great into Black Hand. Black Hand likes their rushes, and they like their flame tanks. First Pitbull is out for Buka, making its way across the map. That's going to be good to continue the scouting. Confessor Kripal squads taking a little bit of damage on that Tiberium spike, but Buka's doing the same to 2 structures inside of Tipsy's base. Nothing really to write home about, but it will cost him a little bit of money, and it will give him a scout, and it's definitely going to be annoying for sure. Pitbull finally over in the center of the map, making its way about halfway through. I'm going to start poking at Tipsy here in a minute. A couple of rocket squads are out. Looks like I actually miscalculated. There's actually already two more Pitbulls over here. They're going to catch one Harvester, but I don't think there's enough here to deal damage, and the rocket squads are going to be pretty good here for the defense. One Pitbull maybe miss micro just a little bit, almost getting taken out there for free. Buka needs to tighten it up a little bit into Tipsy. Rocket squad's finally going for the foxhole, taking out those pesky rifleman squads. Pitbulls did manage to stay alive. Actually, I didn't notice that one whatsoever. It's pretty wicked. Raider buggy for Tipsy, making its way inside of Buka's base. Buka developing his natural expansion quite nicely as well. Both players in pretty close in economy, it looks like, in both total and per minute. APC's making their way across the map, killing those Cabal Confessor squads. Does look like Raider Buggy's going to get targeted down by these Pitbull. Pitbull going to go down to about half HP, but not too much to worry about. Black Hand, not really surprisingly favoring their man spam, their rocket squads and whatnot. Scorpion Tank killing the Rifleman squads and going for the Crush. They do need to get the Crush because they're going to be shooting absolutely cross-eyed when it comes to actually trying to hit them with a tank shot. Healthy number of Scorpion Tanks inside of Tipsy's base. Buka's going to have one good response to that. He does have a couple of Pitbulls, and it looks like he's already transitioned into the Predator Tanks, and I think the Predator Tanks do quite well into Scorpion Tanks. I think they're like one Predator Tank can kill 1.5 Scorpion Tanks or something like that, if I remember correctly. Tiberium Spike for Buka going down for free over in the northern section of the map. Same not happening to his opponent. Couple of Orcas going in for the scout, but that is going to reveal that Buka does have an air factory. Power plant, oh my, just barely not going down. At the very least, it's going to force him to do a constant repair. Buka needs to group his forces up a little bit better to deal with the Predator Tanks. He needs to make his way. I guess these forces still could go either way. Buka maybe not confident in his assault. However, Tipsy does back his forces out. It does seem to be a little bit of a feint as a couple of them do turn around. APCs, I think, are going to be the real linchpin. AP ammo in these APCs should be pretty good into all of this. It looks like a couple of Hammerheads moving their way in with their composite armor. Definitely a great transition into Black Hand. Buka already prepared for Tipsy's shenanigans. A couple of Pitbulls making their way across the map, doing a bit of harassment, doing a bit of skirmishing, are going to get at least one of these Scorpion tanks. It looks like they're going to go for Tibsy's MCV, but there's only one of them left, and they're going to run into the Scorpion tanks. Hammerhead's forcing it to deploy rather early. Might actually be able to take it out here in a minute. Losing this could spell the doom, but there is the SAM turrets there for Tibsy. Tibsy absolutely on top of it, producing Hand of Nod and Rocket Squads right on cue, but will it be enough? Another SAM turret does pop its way out as the Hammer heads do have to finally back their way up. APCs and Predator tanks are here, which means those Hammerheads can move their way back in if they're not careful. There are 3 SAM turrets. This does give him time to do that. Shredder turrets out on the front line. MCV getting targeted. MCV less than half HP. Looks like Buka's truly going for the throat. He might be able to pull it off on Tibsy this early in the game. Losing that MCV is definitely going to sting it. There it goes. Take it down. Buka able to pull one over off on Tibsy and able to reverse move out even if he loses those tanks. That is gotta sting. It's going to slow Tibsy down on so many different levels. He does have a large number of man spam here, but Buka really in top form for this fight. He's going to need to get out a lot of watchtowers in order to deal with Assault Tibsy. He does have time to turn this around. However, that's still going to sting. There's a Hand of Nod out on the front line, which means this assault is not going to end anytime soon. Here is the answer as the cavalry arrives, as the Hammerheads move their way in, just absolutely mopping up all of this infantry. Rifleman squad after Rifleman squad going down, watchtower going up, tanks moving in for the crush. Tibsy is in trouble. Buka moving his way through his opponents. Absolutely able to pull one over off on Tibsy. Tibsy's got to be hurting from this. Buka doing so great into him, which is great to see because he had some sort of unfortunate games, I think, into Steel Talons. I don't remember who he played earlier. Either way, Tibsy is definitely hurting. Hand of Nod did get sold off. He's going to have to rebuild that MCV, which I believe is still 3,500. Mantis tanks are out, but a little too late for it to make a significant difference. Secondary MCV out for Buko, and why not? He's probably got the income for it. Looks like he's 2K ahead of his opponent and about 7 to 8K ahead on total resources gathered. Selling off of the SAM turret, which means that the tanks have free range on this Tiberium Spike, which is one of the only real advantages his opponent has. SAM turrets are going to get spotted as the Orcas go in and take a couple of pot shots off at the now replaced construction yard. More and more SAM turrets out on the front line, but so is Buka. Buka building a couple of things here on the front line. Maybe get a barracks, so that might be not too bad into all of this. It looks like he's going for Watchtower. Looks like he's going for Laser Fence. He is here to say Sonic Emitter is going to be plenty to deal with this and actually accidentally kill these rocket squads. It's going to be good into the rocket squads, too, if it can outrange it. Marv on the front line. Buka is here to stay. Buka putting up Watchtower after Watchtower and continuing his assault over here in the south, drawing the majority of Tibsy's forces. Tibsy needs to be worried about this northern expansion. That is going to be the problem. We do get an Obelisk of Light. Obelisk of Light versus Sonic Emitter. Obelisk of Light did get its first shot off. Sonic Emitter might be in trouble, but it might be able to buy time for these units to move their way in. Power plant up, power plant down. Plenty of structures out here. Obelisk of Light does win that fight. Does look like Hammerheads win their fight over in the south. Mantis Take's trying to chase them down, but they're going to chase them down in vain. Buka not giving up, putting up power plant there for the body block. More and more Watchtowers pop their way out. Same thing with the Shredder turrets. Confessor Cabal squads do get the sell-off and do pop their way on the map, but things are not looking good for Tibsy. He's trying to hold on with everything he possibly can. Predator tanks moving their way in, getting more and more damage on top of Tibsy's base. Sniper teams making their way across the map. Marv almost completed, and Tibsy throwing in the towel. Buka doing very well. Hopefully he can continue those gains into Tibsy, but Tibsy has been known to turn things around, and we have seen him do that so far in the Chrono Clash, so he's definitely capable of doing that. Maybe once he gets used to Buka's strategy, or maybe he can predict his moves. Either way, we'll get to see in match number 2. Give me one moment. Welcome to Tournament Highlands. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the green in the screen, this is Buka. His opponent, who's down 1 point in the blue, sticking with the black hand. Give it up for Tibsy. Getting Skrin into black hand. I feel like this favors the black hand because I think that maybe other than like Mechapeds, that unless there's a lot of Gunwalkers, late game wise, I think Black Hand does way better into Skrin because they can produce all the man spam and the avatars, and Skrin just seems to have such a hard time dealing with that, even with like planetary assault carriers. Really, I think the only answer is maybe like a whole bunch of buzzer squads in the background, kind of treat them like cavalry, like where you keep them in the background, keep a good number ready to just move in on Black Hand. And I think that could make a difference. Maybe Gunwalker's in the front to absorb the shots, but maybe Tibsy knows something that I don't. Either way, I don't think there's any way he knows that Buka has switched to Skrin. Buka might even be playing random. I haven't looked into it just quite yet. War Factory down in low power mode. Refinery down as well for Tibsy. Looks like 3 harvesters for Buka and 2 harvesters for Tibsy. So Tibsy just a little bit behind building that 3rd harvester right now. Confessor Cabal squads making their way into the center of the map, doing a little bit of scouting there for Tibsy. I don't think the Buzzer squads have made it over into Tibsy's base, and I think that is a mistake. Buka needs to scout his opponent as quickly as possible. You can't leave a player as skilled as Tibsy alone, especially when he's playing Black Hand. That's just begging for a rush, in my opinion. He's not doing one just quite yet, but he's still got time. Seeker tanks out for the Skrin faction, out for Buka. Moving into the center of the map. 3 of them probably going to go harass Tibsy here in a moment, but Tibsy has time to produce a couple of Scorpions if he needs it. One more Harvester does come out, giving him 4. There it is right there, sort of on cue. There's the Operations Center, which means we're probably going to get a Flame Tank or a Reckoner. Who knows? Seeker Tanks have an opportunity to spot it. They might see the unit coming out, but only time will tell. Seeker Tanks moving their way in. Confessor Cabal squad's getting mopped up by those Buzzer squads. Operations Center not doing too much just quite yet. There is the Secret Shine there for Tibsy. Tibsy does like his rushes and his cheeky tactics if he can get it off. Gunwalker moving their way forward. Buka still completely unawares that Operations Center is out and ready to go, which means that Tibsy is cooking something up. Don't know quite yet, but I'm sure we'll get to see here in a moment. There it is. There's the Flame Tank, probably followed by a secondary Flame Tank, and then maybe a Reckoner. 4 Seeker Tanks in the center of the map and 1 Gunwalker that's going to have a hard time unless they run directly into the Flame Tank, stopping those units. Flame Tank making its way over to the southern section of the map. Man Spam in the north making its way across over there. Would be nice to see them run into these units. Second Flame Tank making its way into the center of the map. If it's not careful, it's going to get spotted, and this rush might get exposed. Assimilators making their way across the map into the Tiberian Spike of their opponent. Plenty of Seeker Tanks over here making their way back to their base. Where did that Flame Tank go? Flame Tank's still undiscovered. He is going to run, unfortunately, into these Seeker Tanks. Seeker Tanks are going to take it out rather quickly, but that means also Buka is going to see that it's coming. Flame Tank getting 2 kills off on those assimilators. That's definitely going to make a big difference. Cabal Confessor squads making their way, Confessor Cabal squads making their way across the northern section of the map, as Man Spam is truly the name of the game. No real Gunwalkers just quite yet. Flame Tank in the center of the map, not doing too much, needs to make it way forward. 1 Harvester going down to the Flame Tank. Secondary Flame Tank going to run into the Seeker Tanks as well. This is Tibsy's moment to move his Flame Tank in, and indeed, he's doing it right on cue. 1 Flame Tank did bait out these 4 Seeker Tanks, which are definitely going to be good into that. Flame Tank getting dangerously close to his opponent. There's the upgrade for the Gunwalkers. Gunwalkers are going to have a hard time dealing with it. However, the Mechapede could do a good amount of damage. Flame Tank is going to not really focus on too much. Not sure what it's going to go for. It looks like it's going to go for the Warp Sphere instead, but I don't think it's going to be able to kill it in time. It does get close, but the Flame Tank goes down nonetheless. Tibsy going for the Tiberium Spike of his opponent. Lightning Spike out on the front line. Not really choosing which target it wants to go for. Being a bit indecisive in that. A couple of Mechapeds out here for Skrin. Not sure how well those deal into their opponent. It does look like we got a Flame Tank, and I think that is Purifying Flame, which means we have our blue flames here. Flame Tank moving its way in, going for that Warp Sphere. Is going to target it down, is going to take it out, and it's still uncontested. He needs to start dealing with his Flame Tank as quickly as possible. Mechapeds are making their way over there, but it doesn't matter because the refinery is still going to go down. That's 2 buildings for those Flame Tanks. Flame Tank doing a pretty good job of doing that. Taking out that Buzzer Hive may not be a bad idea, but it does get taken down, and I think one of the Mechapeds does get an upgrade there for it. Tibsy not spending his time idly, going for the Tiberium Spike of Buka in the north. T3 out in full effect. Getting a Warp Chasm here rather quickly for Buka. We do get a Tiberium Chemical Plant here for Tibsy and his T3 on top of that. Pretty good one-click over here by TibZ, hitting plenty of Mechapeds, plenty of structures, and plenty of units. One Mechapede almost going down, that upgraded one almost going down, but it looks like all of the infrastructure that was too close to that did get taken down. That's definitely going to put Buka behind, especially with him losing those 2 Tiberium spikes. Buka and TibZ pretty close in economy, at least for the current moment. We're probably going to see a change here in a minute because those refineries and all of those harvesters did get taken down. Mechapede has popped its way out, which means that his opponent knows that that is coming. Black Hand Squad's also having Purifying Flame, as well as the Purifier making their way into the center of the map. TibZ taking over that sector, which means he can buy himself plenty of time. Harvesters moving for TibZ in the north. Singular Mechapede over here for Buka. Buka needs to start grouping up some of his forces and maybe utilizing that Eradicator Hexapod, but I guess he doesn't have a Prodigy just quite yet for the save. Deployment of the construction yard inside the center of the map. Purifiers making their way into the center as well. Mechapedes taking a couple of really good shots off on these harvesters. Harvesters not able to get it, but if Mechapedes are not careful, they're going to get destroyed for it. I don't think they know what is coming. Eradicator Hexapod is going to get scouted, but I'm not sure the Scorpion tanks care too much. They're entirely here just for a bit of scouting. This Eradicator Hexapod is going to need some sort of support. It's going to have a hard time dealing with all these units. It's going to have a hard time fighting all of these. Sure, it'll get a little bit of resources. 2 more simulators are out and probably going to get taken down here if they're not careful. Yep, there they go. They go down for free. Shock Troopers are out. Little too late, I think, though. Eradicator Hexapod not in a good spot. Buka not looking in top form whatsoever. He might actually be in a little danger as the assault begins in earnest. Purifiers making their way forward, and they have that Purifying Flame as a portal goes down, as an extractor goes down, and I think soon to follow, Buka's going to go down. There is the Eradicator Hexapod here to absorb a couple of shots. Massive EMP there by the Raider Buggies. Eradicator Hexapod going down to half health, but it doesn't matter because the real MVPs are going to be these Purifiers who are just absolutely decimating the base of Buka. Buka is in trouble. Eradicator Hexapod just cannot catch a break as it takes more and more damage and gets EMP'd once again. It's just not able to do too much. This is TibZ's game to lose. Warp Chasm going down. Purifiers absolutely uncontested. Mechapedes going down. Everything going down. Buka going down, giving a point to TibZ. Our score is now tied up 1-1. TibZ seems to have the moves of Buka locked in, doing significantly better in that match than his opponent did. I don't know if it was the match or if it was the faction or what it was. Either way, TibZ was able to turn that around and give himself a little bit of a victory. Round 3 is on its way. We are back on Tournament Odyssey. This is match number 3, or so round number 3 between TibZ and Buka. Speaking over in the top right-hand corner of the map, we have TibZ sticking with his black hand, and why wouldn't he, in the blue. His opponent in the bottom left-hand corner sticking with his green, moving to GDI, moving back to GDI, I should say. This is Buka. Buka not able to find the purchases that he wanted with with that Scrin faction, but faring much better with his GDI. That seems to be more of his comfort zone, and there's nothing wrong with sticking with that. I think he was trying to subvert some expectations, or maybe expecting some sort of change there from TibZ. Either way, TibZ seemed to absolutely, I won't say absolutely, he did dominate the last round. But there were a couple of things Buka did quite well in that one. I don't think he produced enough Mechapedes or really just had enough units out in general, though, and I think that is what bit him in the butt. Buka moving a couple of scouts into TibZ's base here in a moment. Doesn't look like TibZ has been doing the same thing, but it's not as critical for him to do so, because he's not against Nod. He's about to run into a couple of his Rifleman squads, so he's going to know that his opponent is at least one of the GDI factions. TibZ so far going for something traditional. No flame tanks just quite yet. Low power mode for the War Factory, maybe trying to save himself a little bit of money. Not sure quite yet. The refinery did pop its way out. That's probably why he was in low power mode for a little bit. Buka scouts have made it all the way across. A little bit of weird formation here for this foxhole, but maybe he's just preparing for maybe like an early assault, wants to see it coming. But if TibZ does anything, it's going to be flame tanks, and they typically go around the north and the south. I don't think they regularly go around the center, but going around the north and south is a longer route. Tipsy finally making his way over to his opponent's base, over to Buka's base. Nothing real critical. He's going to see that he's expanded into his natural expansion, followed just shortly behind Tipsy. Very much so in lockstep with one another. MCV going to undeploy and continue its march across, maybe expecting a couple more forces, but not caring too much about the Confessor Cabal squads. Does take a little bit of damage, but nothing really to write home about. APCs out with rocket squads inside of them, it looks like, for Buka. They fared okay early on. They did significantly better in the mid-game when he was using them, I felt. But really, I think the biggest thing was those Juggernauts and that... I don't think he did eventually. No, he didn't get the Marv out, but he did have a lot of Hammerheads to mop up the man spam. And I think Hammerheads might be what determines who wins this game. Standard 3 attack bikes, 2, actually 3, no, just 2. 2 Raider buggies and 3 attack bikes out for the Black Hand faction. Pretty standard to see. Not super aggressive, but they can be if you leave them alone long enough. Buka still being pest over there. A couple more units are going to join, but it looks like one of the Raider buggies gets left behind, sort of in the background. Attack bikes moving their way in, but moving their way right into a Harvester. Buka predicted him right on cue, and unfortunately for Tipsy, he's going to start losing bike after bike. That's 2 bikes down. Looks like the rocket squads are beginning to focus on the wrong targets. There's one mine drop, but they were not going for that APC. They were going for the other one, as one APC does get taken down. Rocket squads do take a couple more shots off on these units. Rocket squads do get deployed and destroyed there sort of towards the end. Actually, pretty good micro in here by Tipsy, or by Buka, as he managed to get those rocket squads out just in time, mopping up the forces of Tipsy. One rocket squad getting so close to going heroic. We'll keep rooting for him and see where he goes. Hopefully he does get that one heroic rocket squads. Couple of tanks here to join the fray, along with a few more APCs. Confessor Cabal squads finally going down. Singular rifleman squad moving forward and getting destroyed for it. AP ammo being worked on in the background here for Buka. Looks like attack bikes, bike and buggy are going to be the name of the game here for Tipsy. Looks like he's happy to produce that. No, looks like he did sell off his second war factory, or I guess his first, but still second war factory over there to make himself a little bit of cash. Not sure what the thinking is behind that, but I'm sure he's a significantly better player than I am, so he definitely knows something I do not. Bike and buggy making their way around the south, probably trying to go around that watchtower that may or may not be there. A couple of reinforcements here could make this assault quite grim for Tipsy. Man spam and tanks in the north for Tipsy. Tipsy making his way directly into that Pitbull. Pitbull going to get taken down, it looks like almost for free, but one bike does go down in the end. Harvesters are protected, which are the primary thing Buka cares about. Nobody's moved on to their secondary natural expansion just quite yet, and I don't see a reason to. They've got plenty of Tiberium for both of them to harvest. There is the transition into Hammerheads, but we don't have AP ammo just quite yet. I say that, and as soon as I do, they did produce that AP ammo over here in the background. Bike and buggy moving around over to the north, looking for something to snack on, looking for something to expose, and there it is. There's the construction yard, but they don't catch it just quite in time. Rocket squads getting a couple more shots off on those units, but not able to kill them. One APC does go down. However, this is going to be a lot of rocket squads to deal with if they're not careful, and he knows that Buka is set up over here with this. Plenty of watchtowers, and that's going to be really good. 4 watchtowers out here to mop up a couple of his man spam, but Tipsy not committing to the assault. Losing more and more of his attack bikes over time. He had quite a good number of them, but no longer. Tipsy also grabbing this defensive tower. His opponent doing the same, grabbing this defensive tower over on this side. This is a good, healthy number of these units. But there are APCs, there are Hammerheads. Buka has the counters for it, and he does notice that Tipsy has moved into that natural expansion. Bike and buggy moving their way into Buka's base. Buka might be in a little bit of trouble if he's not careful. That Buka is focusing on the attack bikes like he should, but those units can shoot up. Those Raider buggies can shoot up. They are going to lose a whole bunch of those, which means that all that is left of this assault over here is all of this man spam. Watchtower going down. Hammerheads moving their way in. Hammerheads moving their way out, taking a whole bunch of damage. APCs with AP ammo moving their way in. Good, massive strike there, hitting a good, healthy number of those units. APCs dying left and right. Not enough watchtowers here on the front line. One watchtower does pop up It does look like a couple of these units move there. Marv is on the front line as well here in a moment. I'm assuming somewhere, maybe it's in the background. Either way, it is out and ready to go. Hammerheads can't get close enough to deal damage, and they are pretty hurt. Looks like the Marv is over here in the north with already a unit inside of it, absorbing a lot of the shots from the man spam. Refinery going down. 2 watchtowers popping their weight, finally pushing Tib Z out, finally pushing these units out. Watchtowers left right here in order to control this sector of the map, and these units might run directly into it, not thinking that Buka still has it there. Buka either losing or moving his MCV. It looks like he did move it. He's going for a safer bet, maybe trying to move the Marv up in there instead, but noticing that Tib Z is already established quite well inside that natural expansion. Without having this secondary natural expansion, Buka is still tied with Tib Z, but that can turn here any moment, especially because Tib Z has so much infrastructure out and ready to go. There's the 1 click, so it looks like Buka is going to be able to see how well Tib Z is doing. Buka doing a decent job at getting a couple of scouts out and marching their way across the map to see what they can see. Rifleman squads getting ran over by a couple of the Scorpion tanks. Scorpion tank might die for it. Now beginning to focus on this watchtower, but is extremely minor in what's going to happen there. Buka finally moving his way into his natural expansion. A little late, but at the very least he is there. No composite armor for the Hammerheads, but there are plenty of them out here. They don't want to run into those attack bikes because those Raider buggies and the attack bikes can both shoot up, which are going to be a bit of a trouble. Manspam moving their way into these 3 watchtowers. Keeping these watchtowers here did seem to make a bit of a difference. However, they're in a really unfortunate position. Decoy army does pop its way out. Watchtowers still getting a decent amount of kills at the very least. Not focusing on the decoy army, so that's nice. At least Buka's going to have to either sell all this off or prepare a defense. Hammerheads over on the right-hand side, not in a good spot. War Factory getting targeted down, Power Plant getting targeted down as the snowball makes its way across the map. Marv here still with only 1 unit inside of it so far. Would be nice to see 2 engineers in it, but only time will tell if we're going to get those units. There are the Hammerheads here, finally for the defense. 1 Predator tank in an unfortunate position, going to get destroyed by that watchtower out on the front line. Hammerheads moving their way in. Once again, is Tib Z a little bit more prepared for it than he was last time? It looks like he definitely is. These bike and buggy, I think, are really making the difference here. Marv moving its way in. Hammerheads moving their way in. More and more watchtowers popping their way on the line, on the front line. It looks like all of the man spam are finally going down, and the Marv is doing a good job at keeping that bike and buggy combination away from the Hammerheads. Marv taking plenty of damage. Bike and buggy moving their way into their base, forcing a response here for the Hammerheads. Watchtowers out on the front line, helping destroy a couple of these units, but a good chunk of the Hammerheads are going to die to this assault. The assault over inside Buka's first natural expansion has finally ended. He did win it, but he needs to get something inside of this Marv. Those units are nice, but I really want to see 2 engineers. 1 click hitting the refinery. Looks like Tib Z has firmly taken the lead in the economic front by about 5K. And it looks like about 5K in total resources gathered. Hammerhead's looking for some free targets, but if they're not careful, they're going to run into a bit of danger as the bike and buggy actually make their way across the map into them. They are taking a couple of really good shots off on the Hammerheads. The Hammerheads do manage to stay alive. Still no composite armor for them just quite yet. And there's the Tib core missiles for the attack bikes, and why not? But they are going to run into the Marv, which is going to be unfortunate for him. Marv finally has 2 engineers in it, and is going to do a good number of damage to this attack bike. Decoy army here in the front line, and it looks like bike and buggy might be enough to destroy this Marv. However, this might give the Hammerheads time to increase their assault. Marv getting so close to going down. War Factory out on the front line, just barely saving the Marv. Buka escaping with his T3 unit just by the skin of his teeth. 2 engineers in War Factory coming in clutch and sending those Hammerheads in definitely made a difference. Better you lose a couple of Hammerheads than to lose that Marv. No Redeemer just quite yet for Tib Z, but it is on the horizon, and it's close to about halfway done. Tip Z preparing for the late stage, going for the Tiberium Spike of Buka. Not a bad idea because Buka can't really respond to it just quite yet. He knows that Marv is going to need a healthy amount of repairing. There are going to be a good number of Hammerheads out and ready to go. Hammerheads having a couple of, I think those were Zone Troopers inside of them, at least inside one of them. Some rocket squads might be pretty good for dealing with the attack bikes, so maybe just producing a bunch of rocket squads and popping them inside of those units. Watchtower getting taken down, but now beginning to focus fire on those couple, and another rocket squad going down almost for free. Redeemer is out, and it's going to have more HP than the Marv, at least for the current moment. Man spam here to pad out the formation of his opponent. Tib Z moving his base in, his MCV in, preparing for this assault. There's the one click over there. It looks like the SAM turrets are going to get targeted down over here by this unit. Hand of Nod also getting targeted as well. One of the Hammerheads with his own troopers unfortunately does go down. More SAM turrets out on the front line. Marv having to go into full reverse move, not wanting to deal with that Redeemer. Redeemer still has his Rage Gen up and ready to go. No engineer inside of the Redeemer just quite yet. Attack bikes moving their way on the right-hand side, maybe looking for greener pastures, maybe looking for softer targets. Looks like the response is going to be a couple of Hammerheads. Hammerheads here for the defense, but are they going to turn in time? It doesn't matter because two of the Harvesters, almost three of them, do get taken down, but the splash damage for the attack bikes with those Tib Core missiles is extremely powerful, destroying a healthy number of those. Tib Z definitely came out on top in that engagement. Marv sticking back, preparing for the assault. Juggernaut's behind all of these buildings in a pretty good spot, as long as the Rage Gen doesn't force them to kill one another. Tib Z even setting up a base inside of Buka's old base. Does look like Buka was able to keep up a little bit on the resource front, but Tib Z might begin to capitalize on this over here in a minute. Plenty of SAM turrets as Tib Z really does get built in over here. Marv moving its way forward, taking a couple of pot shots off at the Confessor Cabal squads, trying to kill what it can kill. Rifleman squads marching their way in to see a bit of scouting. Plenty of Juggernauts here. Hopefully they do not get hit by this Rage Field Generator. I think that might be the biggest thing that we need to watch out. There is the Rage Gen. Rage Gen does pop off. Biggest thing is going to be if these Juggernauts do begin to target each other. Hopefully they do not. Attack bikes moving their way in, getting at least one of the Juggernauts SAM turrets out on the front line. As that MCV moves a little bit closer, it looks like it does get taken down though, so it's less of a threat. However, this Marv is in danger. Marv did upgrade. Hammerheads moving their way in, getting what they need to get, but the SAM turrets are here as well. SAM turrets taking some really good shots off. This is still anyone's game, but I think it might be favoring Tib Z. Tib Z just has so many forces on the front line. Marv's still here, but he's not where he needs to be. It looks like he snuck around behind all of these Juggernauts. Juggernauts in an unfortunate position, not able to fire just quite yet. Redeemer is down to half HP. A couple of Watchtowers on the front line. Hammerhead's going down. SAM turrets out on the front line. Tib Z's Redeemer so close to getting taken out, but I'm not sure he's paid attention to it. Rear armor is exploded. Just needed one more shot. Tib Z managed to keep it alive. That one engineer, actually no engineer inside of it, so there's nothing able to keep it up. Juggernaut goes down. Juggernaut comes back up. Redeemer does get finished off over there, but this assault does continue for Tib Z, and I think Tib Z has the economy for it, and Buka can't really afford the trade. A couple more Hammerheads are still out, and I think this is all but lost by Buka. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to turn this around. He keeps losing Juggernaut after Juggernaut. Engineer might be able to grab that Juggernaut once again. Hopefully it does. It does indeed, but not really a whole bunch is going to be able to stop that. T3 does go down, probably soon to follow by Buka. I don't think Buka can do too much of anything at all. Maybe if he can conserve his resources and march his way back into his old base, but even then, he's only got a couple of units out and ready to go. Zone Troopers are here. No upgrade just quite yet for their power packs, but I'm not sure he cares. He's just trying to get them out. I don't see a way of Buka turning this around. Tib Z just controls almost 70% of the map at this point. Watchtowers cannot stay up whatsoever. One does go down, replaced by another one really quickly, but it doesn't matter because the forces are significantly cheaper. Two-handed nods out on the front line, and this march is continuing. Buka does finally do a little bit of selling of resources there, but he does leave one Harvester in the background to die for free. He's got almost next to nothing left over here in his field. a whole 5k difference in resources and almost a full 30k gathered. One more Harvester almost going down. A couple of Watchtowers on the front line, but I think Watchtowers are just going to delay that. There is the Decoy Army. Watchtowers taking a couple of shots at the Decoy Army, wasting what they have. Secondary Watchtower going down, about to walk their way into Buka's base. I really don't think Buka's going to be able to win this, especially with a Juggernaut that was taken by TibZ. MCV getting targeted down, going to get destroyed here rather quickly. There it goes. It is destroyed. It is taken out. It does try to deploy, so you got a little bit of weird animation there. Doesn't matter. Hand of Nods out on the front line, which means this assault is not going to stop anytime soon. Plenty of Watchtowers, plenty of APCs, but it's not enough. Buka just cannot keep up with TibZ, giving Buka another point, which means our score has moved on 2-1. Give me one moment, Commander. Looks like my mic was off that whole time, but we actually have a bit of an illegal map here. It's supposed to be Tournament Rift, but it is Tiberium Rift instead. Not sure how the referees count this, but I'm going to count it as a game, at least for the current moment. I don't think it's that massive big of a deal, but the map is pretty different because Tournament Rift has this completely blocked. There's blue Tiberium here instead, and then there's a contested green Tiberium here in the north. So it is unfortunate to see that, but not much we can do about it right now. Over in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing the green, playing the Mark of Kane, this is Buka. His opponent faring a little bit better this time around in the blue, also playing the Mark of Kane. This is TibZ. Does look like we're going to get a little bit of rush over here by Buka, producing two of his bikes out and ready to go. The linchpin for this is going to be if TibZ has scouts out and ready to go. Buka hasn't done any rushes just quite yet. He has 4 attack bikes, probably followed by 2 more here in a minute. Yep, there. So that means 2 volleys from these attack bikes will destroy a Harvester. TibZ might be in a bit of danger if he's not careful. If he plays his cards wrong, he doesn't scout out like he needs to, he could have a bit of a problem. Buka doing a bit of a better job of scouting, sending out his Raider buggy to see what is on his way. Selling off of one of the power plants. A couple of shots are wasted on it, though, as it does get taken out. A decent EMP there, I think, mopping up actually 3 of those attack bikes, slowing down this assault, selling off plenty of units here. That's why the power plant did get sold off. TibZ doing a significantly better job. He could have lost a bunch of Harvesters of it. He does lose 2 because Buka is in full rush mode for the current moment, as more and more Harvesters do get targeted down. A 3rd Harvester might get taken out. There it goes. Despite everything that TibZ tried, it was just too much to deal with all of that. Scorpion tanks finally making their way out, but I think it's too little too late. Attack bikes now in the northern sector of the map. This is a pure all-in here for Buka. He's sold off his MCV, and he needs to capitalize on those gains. 3 Harvesters definitely will make a difference and will slow down the economy of TibZ, but he's got to keep up that pressure because TibZ will make a return if he is allowed to do so. Nobody's grabbed blue Tiberium just quite yet, but I don't think Buka can afford to move in and grab it. Scorpion tank here joining a couple of these forces, hopefully evening up a bit of this. Would be nice to see a hand of Nod with a couple of rocket squads out and ready to go. Those rocket squads would do really well into those attack bikes. Attack bikes sort of left out in an unfortunate position. There's a good EMP right here if this Awakened Squad has it, but maybe it's already been used. Power plant going down to half HP, and actually that's the Awakened Squad of his opponent. That's the Awakened Squad of Buka hitting that power plant, maybe trying to get those Scorpion tanks, but not able to reach it in time. Buka is very quickly running out of time to tie things up, to win things up. He needs to get some more advantages on TibZ. TibZ hasn't sold off his construction yard, but he has built 2 war factories. He's up in economy. He did sell off his MCV there, preparing for this sort of doing a reverse rush. Buka is already a little bit more established, so it really just depends on how they use their units at this point. Attack bikes did make it their way all the way back. Healthy number of them, but this is giving TibZ plenty of time to prepare for this assault. This is definitely going to come down to economy. Plenty of attack bikes in the south making their way across. Might actually run into a couple of these Scorpion tanks or just run into the same number of attack bikes over there. In the south, moving TibZ moving into the center of the map. looking for something to snack on, not able to find anything, probably making its way all the way around to the north into his opponents. Attack bikes are beginning to match it. If they run into these Scorpion tanks, though, that's going to be quite disadvantageous for Tibz. Tibz cannot afford to rush those attack bikes into Scorpion tanks. So Buka really, really needs to play his cards right. And his Scorpion tanks are not in the best position. His attack bikes are sort of here in the background, waiting as sort of cavalry. Scorpion tanks might see the attack bikes. If they do, that's going to be really unfortunate for Tibz. He should be able to see them now. Scorpion tank does notice them. Attack bikes do make their way in. This is the best opportunity that Buka has in order to tie things up, in order to get a massive advantage. He needs to kill a couple more of these bikes. One bike does go down, dwindling the numbers there at least a little bit. A whole bunch of them did take damage, as the Scorpion tanks are now spotted in the north, and Tibz needs to mount some sort of response there. And the response is going to be hard if it's attack bikes, as the attack bikes for Buka move through the south. Looks like it's Scorpions into attack bikes on each side. Still no hand on mod just quite yet. Attack bikes do finally make it their way back to their base to join here for the defender's advantage. Attack bikes are going to go for the power plant here for Tibz. Tibz can't afford to really lose anything, and of course he does lose that building for free. Buka doing a better job with his harassment, keeping Tibz on his toes. Scorpion tanks moving their way into the center of the map, but thinking otherwise, probably not the worst strategy. If he can apply defender's advantage correctly, he may not be in the worst spot, but if Buka can continue to take out those harvesters, he'll be in a better spot. Blue Tiberium is being grabbed here by Buka as his Scorpion tanks move their way into the center of the map. Awakened Squad does make its way across the map, does see what Buka has going on, and EMPs at least one of those war factories. Pretty anemic a number of attack bikes for Tibz over here. And I think Buka has better forces overall, it looks like. Awakened Squad getting crushed there by the Scorpion tank. Attack bikes, I think their best bet is to go for this last power plant. Buka's going to try to capitalize on Tibz sort of sitting stationary, going for this blue Tiberium over and over. Not a bad strategy, especially with this rush. Neither one's really staring each other down. It looks like they're just happy to build things up, trying to play this cautiously. And I think that might be because this might be loser bracket. So I think whoever loses here gets knocked out of the tournament, unless this match is completely illegal and doesn't count. Either way, we'll get to see here in a little bit. Finally getting a bit of movement on each side. Scorpion tank might run into Scorpion tank. It's going to boil down to formation and concave, and right now Buka is not formed or concave. He is going for that blue Tiberium. He does have time to set up his formation. I think he did spot the Scorpion tanks of his opponents. He does form up rather quickly. Does look like his opponent is matched up a little bit better. However, if he can keep feigning this, if he can keep these units here, these attack bikes can make their way across and go for that last power plant, which would definitely suck to lose that. But Buka doesn't have the scouting for it. He can't see what's going on. One Scorpion tank does get caught out, forcing these Scorpion tanks a little bit further into this, and maybe this is what Buka's worried about. Maybe he's worried about these units rolling into him. However, I think he might have been able to win a base race, especially if he had the defense up. Buka did produce a construction yard, so that is up and ready to go, which means he's going to have some defenses. Tibz behind on that front. No MCV just quite yet. Scorpion tanks are going to move their way in. EMP missing absolutely everything. Tiberium Spike still somehow alive, but just barely. One Scorpion tank going down for free. Buka needs to use his attack bikes to his advantage. That's the biggest thing I think he has on Tibz for the moment, other than the MCV. He needs to go for this power plant. That power plant would be so valuable to go for. 3 Scorpion tanks getting caught in an unfortunate position. That's not what Tibz needs. That's not what Tibz needs to deal with. They did go down to half HP. No real focus fire there. One does get sent sort of to its doom, but I think it's probably just there for a bit of scouting. Attack bikes moving their way in, going for Buka, going for the harvesters. Will they have enough time to destroy it? One harvester maybe going down. Yep, one harvester definitely going down, but so are the attack bikes of his opponent. Only one harvester is destroyed, and Tibz is going to see that his opponent has rebuilt that facility. We're getting a healthy number of Scorpion tank versus Scorpion tank. So far, it's favoring Tibz. Buka needs to back his way up in to getting that defender's advantage. He needs to repair a couple of these Scorpion tanks. Attack bikes moving their way in, getting a couple of really good volleys off on these Scorpion tanks. Scorpion tanks having to split their focus. Buka doing what he should and having those attack bikes make their way across the map. He needs to be attacking his opponent. He has time to set up a defense over here for his main base against all of these units, but he looks like he's going to continue to shark around and try to get something in the back. Attack bikes really don't want to be doing this fight, I don't think, whatsoever. MCV did make its way over to the natural expansion finally, and that is going to be good news for his opponents. Attack bikes going out in full force. It looks like Buka might be in a spot of bother over here as a good chunk of these Scorpion tanks do get taken down. EMP catching 4 of the Scorpion tanks could balance things out a little bit better. More EMPs popping out there. Awakened Squad's doing their work, doing their job as Tibbs' forces begin to dwindle, and I think so does his economy. Buka's just a little bit ahead on the economic front so far, and it looks like he is winning this assault over time as Tibbs loses the majority of his forces, but Buka's not taking too many losses himself. He did lose most of his forces, though, I guess I should say, and these Scorpion tanks are going down left and right, but he is developing his natural expansion where his opponent, of course, is not. Tibbs is not. Tibbs is now fully long-distance harvesting. He did sell off a war factory, probably building an MCV, or at least hopefully building an MCV. He's going to need it. Attack bikes making their way over to the right-hand sector of the map. Power plant getting targeted, but getting it sold off right there at the end. Shredder turret, Awakened Squad getting a good EMP there, catching a couple of these Scorpion tanks, forcing Tibbs to throw in the towel, giving Buka another point, bringing our score 2-2, which means we have game match coming up in our game round. Round game? Words are hard. I'm tired. Give me 1 second as I boot up the next round. Match point. That's what I was looking for. Our tiebreaker takes place on Tournament LA. Over in the northern section of the map, playing the green, switching to Zocom. This is Buka. His opponent still for the moment in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing the blue, sticking with black hand. Give it up for Tibbs. This is our final round in the loser bracket between Tibbs and Buka. Will Buka advance or will Tibbs advance? I think it's going to boil down to a lot. Looks like we're getting 2-hand nods out and ready to go. No refinery here because it looks like we're getting the sell off of this. Tibbs is going to put everything he has into this and commit to this rush, as we've seen him do in the past. Will it be successful? That'll be the thing that boils down to everything. Secret Shrine is almost done with its upgrade. There is the upgrade. Looks like we're getting a couple of Black Hand Disciples. And if he loses these forces, if he loses these units, he does lose the game. Hand of Nod getting sold off, maybe trying to save a little bit of extra money for this other Hand of Nod so it can produce the last couple of units to make a difference. So far, no real scouting just quite yet from Buka, but he is going to notice this onslaught on his way. I'm not sure how much of it he can see.
Unit under attack.
Unit under attack. On hold.
He's definitely going to see all of it at this point. He does have time to prepare. He needs to get a bunch of watchtowers up. He needs to get a bunch of really everything up. And at this point, he might even want to sell his MCV because he has an advantage on his opponent. No power plant just quite yet, which means his watchtowers are in full low power mode. Power plant did pop its way up. Watchtower is on its way up. There's a third watchtower there, but it looks like there's going to be plenty of rocket squads here doing their concave. There it is. APCs moving their way in. Looks like there's 4 APCs so far. However, this is going to be a lot of rocket squads. This is going to be a lot of deal. Buka is doing everything he possibly can right, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The rush here for Tibbs is too quick. He did not scout it out soon enough, and there it is. I think that might already be the game. More and more watchtowers are popping their way out, but he doesn't have the resources. Couple of... not Scorpion tanks. Couple of Harvesters are going to go in, getting a couple really good crushes, but Valiant, it still is going to be not worth it. Tibbs is definitely going to win this. There's no way Buka can turn this around whatsoever unless Tibbs just randomly disconnects, which means that Tibbs is going to move further on into the tournament. Buka has one more opportunity to come back in the 5th group, I believe it is. I think there's only a 5th group. There might be a 6th group as well. I know there's 8 people already lined up for it, 8 people already asking about it, so those might already be filled. I'm not sure if Buka was able to make those slots. Either way, Tibbs progresses and Buka gets eliminated. Thank you so much for tuning in, Commander. I've been your host, Korak. Transmission out.